All right. Welcome in, people, to a special episode here. 2024 National Signing Day has arrived. February the 7th, day of the good Lord has give to us. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me here at the locker room. And we're going, man, sorry. We're going to get into some of this and see where your favorite schools have got some of their favorite players and where everybody's going to, it's not the finishing, but there's so many early signees now. It's just kind of, these days are not as, explosive as they used to be when we first started doing this. Welcome into a Locker Room podcast special. Sunday nights, we are live at 6 o'clock. We're glad for you to stop by and hang out with us as we do our live show. Also, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all you listeners from around the podcast, we do thank all you guys for stopping by and hanging out with us too. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to reach 500, and we could not do it without you guys and girls. Thank you very much. Now, so we start getting into this and start seeing some signees. We've already seen some already. And probably the most popular being that Alabama has most recently signed a new coach. We can get into some of their guys that they've signed up. Of course, we know that that Williams Hollywood, he signed from Saraland this morning. Noah Carter, a young man out from Arizona area, played high school football out there. He come in also. He could be a two-position guy. He could definitely be a guy that we could see. It's probably not. He's going to be a defensive end type person, but we could definitely see him come in and play. He could do about anything. And he is, make sure I got this right, because somebody said he's like 6'1". Talking about Noah Carter, came from Arizona. Playing high school there. It says 6'3", 218, and he says that he's probably more around 6'4" or 5. National ranked 82. He's 8th in his position, 3rd in his state. He's listed as an edge rusher. Noah Carter, nice young man. Good pickup for Alabama. And we'll go through some of these as they've came in through the day, and some will be updating later on, and I'm going to stay on here for a while. And we'll pick it up and we'll talk about them as we get them. And not just Alabama, but all the other SEC teams too. And you get something in your throat like right when you want to start talking, then you get something in your throat. Like it ain't bothered me all day. And then I need to sit down here and talk. And I was having a snack, a rice cake with a little peanut butter on it. Trying to get a little something in me before we start here, trying to sit down for an hour or so and go through this. Let's see here. We talked about Noah Carter. Kevin Riley is also another guy. He come in from Northport. He's a running back. And there's also a young man, Hill. He come from, played over at Mississippi. I think he's around I'm just not going to be able to get it together. Sorry. Just sinuses and rice cake mixture, I guess, is just not good for bad timing, I guess. But the Hill kid that come in from Mississippi, he's going to be a very big star kind of running back. I've watched some film of him play in high school, and he's really good. He runs tall. He's a big guy. He's like 6'3" or 6'4", 230 some odd pounds. So we've seen some stuff on him. Also, some kids from Washington we want to talk about. These kids are going to come in and probably play. I would probably say you may see them pretty soon. Now, spring will probably weed out a lot of these guys. These are some guys, since people are really curious about Alabama. Jermaine Bernard. These are some guys that come over from Washington, wide receiver, 4-star guy, 6'1", 203 pounds. Parker Brasfield. He's an offensive lineman. We talked about him probably a week or so ago coming in. Austin Mack, people's heard a lot about him. 6'6", about 230. He said he can throw the thing 100 yards. supposed to be a very unique talent. Now, an offensive tackle, large guy. He's about a 330, 320 pound, 6'6" guy. The Betrained, Naquel Betrain, he's come from A&M. He was a 3-star guy. Could be added to come in and play pretty quick. Also, cornerback, the main Jackson, he'll definitely be a good part to add from there. Now, Mr. Jackson, he was out at USC and transferred in, played at Santa Ana out there at Maitre D, or Mater D, a lot of people call it. Sometimes there's these kids will get hung up in the bushes somewhere. Sometimes these kids get hung up, and you don't see a lot of stuff about them, and they get on campus and they start to develop, and they say that he plays bigger than what he is, and so we're kind of excited. Bama fans should be for this Jackson guy come in and participate pretty quickly. So those are some names for the Tide, and I wanted to talk about Auburn's class. They're going. Bama was at 2, by the way, in overall rank. This is considered by 24/7. Right now, Auburn's hanging in there at 7, composite rank at 10, and transfer ranking at 39. Everybody knows about Cam Coleman, the guy who played at Phoenix City, outstanding athlete. It's going to be super, super important for them to play a part of their game, to have a guy that's just a lot like Williams, a lot like the young man that came from Saraland over to Bama. Fast, Regis plays well, good hands, and he's very instinctful of just playing football. I mean, when he was younger, he played down there at Central Phoenix, and he just plays the game. I mean, he's the kind of guy, too, that could play. He's going to be a receiver, but he could probably be a top-ranked cornerback as well, too. 6'3", 180. I think he's a little heavier than that now. Then as you get into college and you start working out in different programs, they'll start putting some more weight on him also. Edge rusher, Williams guy, 6'2", over 250 pounds, coming in from North Carolina. These are some good additions that Coach Freeze has added to the team. Of course, the quarterback, Walker White, he's from Arkansas. He's an Arkansas kid, 4-star guy. I want to see how he plays. They're really, really, really in need of a quarterback. Very, very bad. If Auburn if they can't get to a quarterback, it don't matter about all these signees. The edge rusher guy, Waller, kid come in from Mississippi, and then also a kid from Tuskegee, another linebacker, the Phillips kid. He's a 4-star guy. And one of their last 4 stars, the Bryce Kane kid that played at is from Baker, receiver. He's 4-star. I've seen other sports entities put on to say that he could be a 5-star. You just have to watch him play and see, how he plays the game, and because it is about physical, attributes, and all these guys are very well capable playing this Kane guy. He's 5'11", 170, and he could be a Smith type player. He may be kind of smaller in stature, but they're fast, and the way football is played these days, it's just going to be very fast, and replays and move in and out, and coverage, and how Coach Freeze likes to play the game. He likes to put your guys in bad situations. And what I mean by that is he likes to put your linebackers in situations where they have to cover these little receivers. And, yeah, sure, they can tackle them. You catch a guy on a little quick cross, and, linebacker will, eat him up. But good luck catching him. That's how the game's played today. That's that's just how it is. And we've adapted and grew more to a fast style of play. Now, I'm curious about this guy. I want to bring him up. He shows us to be a 3-star. He's a corner. He played over at Parkview. It's over in Lebanon, Georgia. Now, from my understandings and how this kind of is, this area where they play football over there around Lebanon, there's a lot of good teams in that area. So this guy's not going to come off as being not well composed against, if that makes sense. Like he ain't played nobody. That's not true. That's not how. Because he has played against a lot of higher competition. So I'm curious about him. They also got a guy from AMG that's from Brandon, Florida. It's TJ Lindsey. He comes in also as an edge rusher. And you can tell that, Coach Freeze is trying to lay some groundwork here to build the defense. Auburn was left in a bad spot. And because Gus didn't do a good job in recruiting, the last year or two he was there, and Coach Harsin did no kind of recruiting hardly at all. And also Mr. Kite came from Alabama. He's going to be a corner, and I'm sure he'll play. I liked him. I thought he played good. I remember seeing him in the spring game when me and Dean went down and watched Alabama play in the A-Day game. I think he'd be a good player. Antonio Kite transferred from Alabama over to Auburn. And the Thompson kid from Texas, he's also going to be somebody to add to that's had playing time. He shows a 3-star early, come back in. They reevaluated to him to be a 4-star. A guy from the offensive tackle side from Mississippi State over here, the Lewis kid, 6'8", 345. You got a kid from Maryland, a kid from Cal, Duke, Kansas, Gage Keys, and Robert Lewis is a kid that come over from Georgia State as a wide receiver, 3-star. But don't let those stars sometimes fool you. I used to put a lot of thinking into that and think about how, well, they're 3-star. They're probably not going to be a good. Well, I'm telling you, the NFL draft there's more 3-stars, drafted up top around the top first, second rounds than anybody. Because those kind of guys are the ones that have come in and never been showed respect, and they have to work, and they really have to get after it. And the ones that are these 5-stars, they hadn't really had to – they're just naturally good. Not saying they don't work at it, because the ones that are really good naturally and work at it, those are the guys that are going to make a lot of money. Your number one recruiting class, Georgia Bulldogs, looks like they're still going to hang in there and be the number one team. From the Robinson kids they got to come over from IMG. He's going to play corner. Linebacker, the Justin Williams kid, he's from Texas. KJ Bolden, had a lot of talk about him, and he played at Buford. We watched him play. 6 foot, about a 190 guy. He tackles like a truck, and he can run like a sports car. He is a real talent, and I'm sure he'll come in. I'm sure he'll probably play. I'm telling you, he's very good. I've seen him play. Chris Cole, the guy from Virginia, to come in, play some other side of the linebacker spot for him. We got a kid here from Swansboro, Georgia, another cornerback. You can see what Kirby's doing. He's a defensive-minded guy, kind of like Coach Saban. They love to build their defense and just play keep away. If you don't have the ball, you can't score. It's just impossible for you to score if you don't have the ball. Jaden Riddell, he's a tight end guy they'd like to bring in. He's a 4-star guy, and he played up in Missouri area. So you want to be able to replace Bowers, but Bowers is one of those once in a lifetime type. Once ever 5 or 10 year type of guys. And they want to say this Riddell kid can come in and play. Jaden, so he can come in and take that position and do it well. Also a kid from CPA up around Nashville. The Evans kid, he was nationally ranked 106 at the cornerback position. Georgia still adding defensive players. The Tuggle kid, wide receiver specialist, 4-star. Christopher Jones, a kid from Virginia, 4-star. And the quarterback, Puglist, he played at, and from Connecticut, played at, I think he was at a private kind of school, Avon Old Farms is what they called it. Let's see here, looking for some offensive guys for Georgia. 3-star receiver, kid played at Carswell. Sciovi White, we know about him, heard about him plenty. He played over here just about 2 hours from here. High school wide, competition wise to play that area is a lot of good high school football. And Georgia and these guys are definitely, going to be part of the trend and what he wants to do. He's going to play defense. Nate Frazier, guy that's from Santa Ana, another Mater D kid. Nate Frazier coming as a running back to play at Georgia, 4-star kid. These are guys that signed their letter of intents. And Marcus Harrison, heard about him. I read some stuff about him. He's a big kid. He's like 6'7", 6'8", 300-400 pounds. Big kid from up north. I'm curious to see how he works out. Shows a 3-star, but there's some good football up there too. You have to remember, we take a lot of respect here in the South, where Alabama and Georgia are a lot of great teams, but there's a lot of good high school football up north too. Now, a guy to come in and play a transfer that was pretty interesting, the Pope kid from Alabama. This thing keeps falling. It's getting on my nerves. The Pope kid transferred in from Alabama. He's supposed to be a safety, but with all these guys that they got coming in, I don't know why myself. I don't know why he would transfer, because he's not going to play. KJ Bolden is your 5-star, these freak athlete type of kids. So I don't know. He may just wanted to move back closer to home. Let's see here. Let's find the other. Devontae and Pope. Kind of curious here. Let's find out some more details. Well, he played at Buford. Okay. So you want to go back closer around his area where he grew up at. Transferred as a 3-star. He was a 4-star as a prospect. So overall 188. So he wanted to get back closer to home. And Michael Jackson. No, not that one, but the kid from played at USC and grew up and played football in Nevada, which if you keep up with high school football, there's a lot of great football over there in that area of the world. Let's look at, but did Bama, Auburn, and Georgia. Tennessee. Yes, they're under recruiting violations, and that stuff is still going on, and the state senator has filed an appeal to go against the NCAA, and this week, I think pretty much Monday, a judge had said about these things. Allegedly, these things are taking place at the college, but even the things that they can prove, the NCAA moved the goalpost, pun intended, I guess. You can't have these rules and then they're abiding by these rules, and then you change the rule to something different, but they're still abiding by the rule that you set forth, and you change it in the middle of the game, and then it's like, well, now you're breaking the rule. You can't. And the judge said that Tennessee would likely to win this case. And of course, let's see, enrollees. We know about a lot of these guys, from Marcus Gores, the athlete, and safety, edge rushers, tackles, corners. A couple of linebackers here, 3- and 4-star guys. The Spillman kid came over to play for National Tennessee, played at Lipscomb Academy. Edwin Spillman. Though that is if you come out there as a 4-star, he's 6'2", 214, and he's going to come out and play linebacker. Spillman, I promise you, he's going to be good. Also, Pace Academy, the Burns kid, he's going to come in and play linebacker over there from around Atlanta. Shows to be a 3-star guy. These are some really high quality players because of where they play from. And one of our own, Jameis, the Herd kid, that played over here at Rome. I don't want to know if he's going to play like right now, but he's been at Auburn He's been at Tennessee and been signed for a little bit here. High school athletic background, also played basketball. That's the thing, guys. You got to, for young people that are watching this, you need to know that these things matter, building a resume, and to see that you play basketball. Says as a junior, he got snaps at different spots along the defensive line, recorded 31 tackles and stuff is telling about him. And he committed back around Christmas, but I wanted to mention him because he played over here at Rome. 6'7", 305. Good gracious, man. He's going to be a defensive lineman. That's a large man. Okay, I'll just tell you right now. I'm trying to see some more defensive guys here. A kid from LSU, the Lance Hurd kid. He is from Louisiana. He's going to come in and play some. Grew up and born there in Louisiana. Lance, 6'6", 340. Man, with some large humans he have on here. It's offensive tackle. And, of course, the tight end, the Kettlesman kid that was at Alabama, 6'5", 250 pounds. He come in, recruited as to be like a 3-star, but I think after some of these kids get reevaluated, they didn't kind of turn out how they thought they should, so they'll transfer, and that's fine. You know, they're trying to not get them a playing spot, but some of these kids they got coming from all over probably not going to get to play. Probably one of the better transfers that they took hold of was a tight end, Staes, S-T-A-E-S, kids holding Staes, 6'4", 242. Tight end coming over from Notre Dame. That is a good transfer for Tennessee. And let's see. Those are some of the popular. Let's go over here and see what they are saying over here. And I don't know why it splits this screen on me. Curious to see.
9 wins, and every now and then you get 10. And now we're going to a 12-win playoff system. North Carolina has positioned themselves with the right players, with the right staff, with the understanding of development along the way to get their program going in the right direction, because it's not going to happen too fast. It's going to happen at the right time.
Yeah.
In the day and age of the transfer portal, we always talk about how
I'll listen to some of this for a little bit,
players you bring in through high school versus the portal.
So I'm just trying to give you some guys that
27 signee class. So this is a big class for Mack Brown to work with.
Okay.
As always, you can check out the full rankings online at 247sports.com. You can find more analysis and, of course, those expanded rankings. But look, 60% off promo right now. You can get 60% off an annual subscription. It is only for today to celebrate National Signing Day.
That music in the background was
at midnight. Let's head over to our war room. Hey, guys.
Hey, Emily, thanks. Let's talk about some quarterbacks here, Drew, and there are a couple of good ones, right? You can start with the 3 5-stars inside the top 32. DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, a little bit of musical chairs throughout the rankings process. You also got Julian Sayin, ends up early enrolling with Alabama, now at Ohio State under Ryan Day. And there's the list, 1 through 10, all included in the top 247. Drew, you were the person behind the scenes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you got to wear it, right? These are the decisions you get paid to make. DJ Lagway, ultimately, at the end of the day, continues to work his way up the board. The Florida signing
it's pretty
ends
interesting.
up quarterback number 1 inside the top 5 for us. Why was he the guy at the end of the day that you felt comfortable saying, hey, let's bet it all, put all our chips in the middle of the table. Let's ride with DJ Lagway.
Well, Coop, you just saw that pro comp up there. Anthony Richardson, right? Go back to last year's NFL draft, all the hype surrounding Anthony coming out of Florida. You know, you always bring up the one game
very
he
interesting.
had against Utah. That
See
had
how he went up there.
scouts drooling over him. I think that it's going to be the same thing with DJ Lagway. This is a kid that coming into his senior season was just 10-10 on Friday nights. What does he do? He has one of the best senior seasons in recent memory there at Willis High School, leading his team to its best record in over 50 years. He sets the Texas 6A record for the most touchdown passes. And most importantly, he improved as a passer. The game slowed down for DJ Lagway. We liked him at the Elite 11 finals, right? That's a key quarterback evaluation for us. You get 20 of the top arms all in the same setting. Was DJ Lagway the best then? No. Was he the best as a senior? Maybe. Is he a finished product? No. But we like the upside with DJ Lagway. He's got an excellent athletic profile, could have played college baseball, dynamic as a runner, almost had 1,000 yards on the ground. I think he's exactly what Billy Napier and the Florida Gators need. That's why he finished QB1 for us, but it was close. There was a ton of back and forth.
I like the fact he's not a finished product. You mentioned that. Some people might view that as a negative, but you're talking about a guy from his sophomore to his senior season. He went from 55% as a sophomore, 67% as a junior, 72% as a senior. He's an ascending player. He's gotten better and better every.
Yeah, those are the those are the type of things that you want to see as a coach, and as these guys that do this, you know, and keep up with this type of stuff. Get it back on there. You want to see, you know, guys trending ahead. And they always talk about this. And these are all good points for young guys to be able to watch this. That playing other sports. I think that's really important. Some kids, for some reason, I don't know who's lied to them. Well, I do. I have a good theory on who's told them different, but that a lot of these coaches, these batting coaches or whatnot, they've taken up with them and figured out that if they keep them in one sport, they can make money on them, and then through these training camps and training them, and well, if you just stay and do this, we can train you all year with that, and then of course they get to charge them every week for being at their class and taking classes with them stuff. Which what are we really doing? You're trying to do something what's best for the kids. So let's go back over here, and I'll turn this back on. No. Add this. We're going to do this, and let's see.
Kid involved right away.
Raiola.
Reminds me a little bit of Kansas State this past season. Avery Johnson, Will Howard, just too good of a talent to kind of keep off the field. We'll see what happens in Gainesville. Drew, some other really talented quarterbacks.
And they're still talking about Raiola. We got to see him play some because when he was going to be committed to Georgia, we kind of found out about this, and they're talking about him right now. He was a lock. He moved again, and to play high school football over at Buford, and then he just kind of decides that he's not going to play. This is him right here. He's going to go to Nebraska. If you keep up with college football and you're watching this, you probably do. Then you probably already knew that, but you start getting back on it, and I talked to Benton some. He does Northwest Georgia Scoreboard Show, and he's a Georgia guy, and we talked some about this. We found out that his kids moved like 3 or 4 times. So you begin to wonder, what is what's the deal? If he's just moving around to the highest bidder, I don't know. And he had some connection with Nebraska, and they say, whatever. So let's see what you're saying.
He processes and picks up offenses. You said it, bounced around from high school to high
Yeah, I
high
said they
school
just
there
mentioned it.
in Georgia, one of the top programs in the state, very pro-style offense. He had 6 weeks to learn it. I was there for his opener against St. Francis Academy, full command of the huddle, rallied for a late win. I don't know if I would start him right away, but you're going to see him playing in 2024 because Nebraska needs him.
Yeah, they do.
Quarterback's confidence.
And his dad is
a
friends with
delicate
some of the
thing,
coaches
right?
there
So
or something.
I
so.
ask for Dylan Raiola to have the success that we think he can have when it comes to projecting this type of talent to Sundays. What does that look like for Nebraska? Because you mentioned it. I think they only got 11 starts coming back. There's a lot of expectations. Obviously, he is a legacy recruit. You mentioned the fact that his dad played there, All-American there. There's a lot of expectations surrounding this young man. So what do you think is the best path forward for Dylan Raiola when it comes to Matt Rule handling this very delicate situation in this era of the transfer portal and NIL, where there's a lot of expectations riding on the back of an 18-year-old freshman?
Well, Nebraska's got to figure out how to block out the outside noise. And that's going to be difficult to do because anytime you talk about the Cornhuskers moving forward, we're doing it here in February. Just wait till August, Cooper. I think they got Colorado week 3.
Yeah.
It's going to be on College Game Day. It's going to be on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. Anytime you talk about Nebraska, Raiola is going to be talked about right after them because he's the first 5-star quarterback.
Well, his
for the
name is Lance,
Cornhuskers
so
in the modern recruiting
probably
era.
gonna be
So I
good,
think
right?
they need to keep him focused, simplify the offense. I don't know, take his phone away. He's a guy that, the outside noise, I think he can get a little distracted. The talent is not the question for us. It's between the ears, right? Can he buy in and believe in himself? There's going to be some lumps early on. There's going to be some adversity. He's got to stick to the plan and ride that thing out. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for him in 2024.
A lot of day one expectations for DJ Lagway in Gainesville, the same for Dylan Raiola in Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy who might not have those day one expectations, probably a good thing. We talked about the ripple effects of Nick Saban stepping down, retiring after 17 seasons in Tuscaloosa. Well, one of those was a big ripple effect. How about 5-star Julian Sain, early enrollee at Alabama, ends up transferring to Ohio State. Now we got a very loaded room there. You throw in guys like Will Howard, Devin Brown,
And the bottom of
Lincoln
quarterback,
Kyle,
which
not to mention another top 100 player in Aaron Nolan. Drew, What do you think ultimately about the fit of Julian Saint in Columbus under a play caller like Ryan Day?
Howard's
Well,
going to
Bill
play.
O'Brien is the reason why Julian Saint had initially committed to Alabama.
Oh,
Bill
okay.
O'Brien, as it stands right now, is
That's
still the
good
offensive
information.
coordinator there at Ohio
That's
State.
why he wanted. He wanted to
I
come
think what
play
stands
for
out about him is the ability
Coach O'Brien.
to
So
distribute the
and he's at
football and
Ohio
be
State.
accurate.
So
Think
they
about
make
all
a
the
call.
wide receivers there in Columbus. They had Jeremiah Smith, our number 1 ranked wideout, a bunch of guys the previous cycle.
If you
that
want me to come be
Lurie,
your
that tight end.
quarterback.
You can look at the 2025 cycle. Julian Saint as a senior, 74% passer. He only lost 1 game. I watched the tape on that. He played good enough to win. You know, the other team went for 2 in overtime. Julian Saint never had a chance to extend his season. We had up there on the screen, you know, that player comp. We struggled, Cooper, behind the scenes to find a player comp. And I know Ohio State fans aren't going to like this one. I see some J.J. McCarthy in Julian Saint. He's a better athlete than he gets credit for. You know, he spins out of pressure, keeps plays alive. And when we saw him at the Elite 11 finals, did the ball touch the ground? You know, he puts
Yeah,
it
he's
on
really
his
good.
marks. I think Ohio State, that quarterback room, pairing him with Air Nolan, another top 10 quarterback for
Yeah,
us, they've
Ohio State's-
quickly flipped the script there in Columbus.
Better be careful with that player comp, my friend. I like it, though. J.J. McCarthy kind of fits a little bit. That was a difficult one. I think a high-level distributor, you put him in an offense in an environment like Ohio State, all those playmakers, the way that Brian Hartline missing to kind of keep them ahead of schedule. Drew, a lot of other talent out there outside of the top 32 as well. And let's start at the top. How about Luke Kromenhoek in Florida State? What an interesting story this is when you think about this young man out of the state of Georgia. This was a great early ID by Mike Norvell and his staff. You look at a guy like Kromenhoek and what he's been able to do over his career, 26-2, I believe, over the last 2 years as a starter at Benedictine Christian in Savannah. What do you like about him?
Cooper, the craziest thing to me about Luke is in the state playoffs, put on the game tape, and he's playing safety. I don't think there's any other quarterback that went both ways and was playing safety, running up in the box and hitting people. I think he is the perfect fit for what Mike Norvell wants to do. We saw it with Jordan Travis. The quarterback moves around a lot. They're going to get their playmakers involved. They're going to run the football. The fact that FSU offered Luke before he had started a high school game as a quarterback, I mean, this is like hitting the lottery ticket. Penn State tried to get involved. FSU fends off plenty of others. He is the quarterback of the future there in Tallahassee. They're going to have a bridge guy. You know, I don't expect him to be the individual in 2024. Love the arm talent and that athletic frame, man. He can extend plays. He can be a guy you get involved in the designed run game.
Savvy scouting out of Tallahassee. Mike Norvell, got to give them a lot of credit. Drew, the other thing is I think he can be quarterback too this year. Got to beat out Brock Glenn. Certainly struggled as a freshman, was in a tough spot there without Jordan Travis. So Florida State in good hands. Let's talk about another guy that we're really excited about Walker White out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Huge
curious
hit
about him.
for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. All we talk about are these receivers.
I'm really
Who's going
curious
to be
about him.
responsible for getting those
Yeah,
guys the
got to
ball?
get him the ball, man.
Walker White, Drew. I love this chess piece for Hugh Freeze in their future.
He's another guy who was on my freaks list. Had a bunch of P90X when he was in high school. Look, we had a opening for the All-American Bowl. You know, with the quarterbacks, a lot of guys had opted out, going to bowl games. Me and you said Walker White's the first guy we wanted. And then day one of practices, Eric Richards, who was the director of recruiting for the All-American Bowl, he turned to me and said, okay, I get it. And that's after he saw Walker White rip it to the 10 to 15 yards. He can make some NFL throws right there. He's also a good athlete, can run around. I'm excited. Think about Hugh Freeze, Malik Willis, some of the quarterbacks he's had in the past. I think he can be the point guard in that offense and make plays when the Tigers need him to.
I know our boy Tom Loy is watching. Tom, if you're out there, appreciate you watching. He would be very upset if we did not talk about the cerebral assassin in the name of CJ Carr going to play his football for Marcus Freeman in South Bend. What do you like about what Notre Dame's getting in this guy?
Love him between the ears. My favorite interview when we were at the Elite 11 finals, got to spend some time. He's just a pro's pro. Lloyd Carr's grandson. Everyone thought he was going to Michigan, ends up at Notre Dame. You know, you put on the tape, isn't surrounded by the best talent. I think with CJ Carr, the most impressive thing, the most impressive evaluations, my favorite footage for him came in the state playoffs when he was going up against other loaded teams, and CJ Carr would
if he can play,
to get the job
Lance, if
done.
he can,
One of the top throws from him, he spins out. runs away from the sack.
Auburn still
delivers
could be
a
very
dime.
dangerous. I
TJ
mean,
Gardner got the
if
field
this
goal
kid is
line a little
legit, you know, and what they
Davis
say,
Mills,
and I've
we
only seen him
saw
play
and
just
make it to
those
the
highlight
NFL.
reels.
So
I
I
hadn't
think
seen him that
Marcus
much,
Freeman
and that's my
will be
fault. I
friend
should
with that
look more
quarterback
into him. Now I know the
room. Whether
receivers
it's
that they're
transfer
getting because I've
portal or
seen
high
some of them
schoolers,
play.
It feels a lot different than when Brian Kelly
You know,
was
plus the kid
Top
from
6
Central.
quarterbacks in the country, broken down by none other than the man himself.
It's going
our
to be,
director of scouting, Andrew Ivins. Back to Studio A.
but it
Love
always
guys. We're
lines
gonna
up
continue
to.
the discussion of quarterbacks and talk about QB.
But it's always still offensive line. That's where it plays, you know. And me and you know that, and everybody watching, you know, if you follow college football, you know that's where it begins. And Auburn's going to have to make sure that they have an offensive line. Or you're right, he will be a nobody. He'll come in and you have all this splash and all this talk, and he's going to even have some guys to throw the ball to. But man, it still starts up front. If they can't, you know, build a line up front to protect their guy, you know, their money guy, then like really, what is it worth? None of it's worth nothing. And I've been harping on it since I harped on it last year. And I know some, you know, these young people are not Auburn fans, and I just do this to cover everybody and try to give everybody a, you know, idea what kind of players they have come their team. But Ashford, you know, he transferred and he just couldn't get it done. And Auburn's just really struggled at quarterback position for a while. So I think they got that figured out, and they definitely have figured out the receiver position. So let's go over and see what we're talking about here. Freshman watching.
Question in terms of his mental aptitude and his ability to get through adversity. Not saying that he can't, but this would be a good time for him to grow up.
Whether he went to 1, 4, or 10 high schools, he's Nebraska's guy.
Yeah,
You saw that quarterback play last year. It was very dismal. All the chips are on the table for him, and there's going to be a real high level of expectation
Raiola
for this season from him.
I heard Andrew mention it. I mean, he's going to be a local hero. There's going to be pressure. There's going to be noise.
Yeah.
He joked that
Yeah, 'cause they're
take his
really-
phone away. But that is totally
put in a lot
real
of
from a
chips in the
freshman
basket.
standpoint. Is that
Because
how much
Nebraska
you
wants to be
worry
relative again, man.
about that becoming a factor? Coming in as a Nebraska native and being kind of that savior.
Nebraska hadn't been.
No matter what
when's
the
last time they've been
expectations
relevant?
are, a freshman is still going to have to go through growing pains. They still have a rebuild in the middle of a rebuilding process at the University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
That
other pieces.
Coach
that they
Rule's probably
need
going to do a good
for
job
the
there.
Super
Man.
competitive football team.
He's an
So
NFL
there
guy.
is going to be some
You know,
growing
he's
pains to
coached,
go
been
along with
around,
it.
and
But how he plays
I think he'll be
and Matt
fine.
Rule's tenure is going to be tied directly together. But he is going to be the guy that they go with.
Speaking of
Yeah.
the guys,
No,
so
he's
if you
gonna
think
play.
the number one quarterback in this class, DJ Lagway, will be the guy year one for Florida. There's two things going here, right? There's opportunity and then there's readiness. How ready is he to come in and be a starter?
I don't know if he's ready because there aren't many freshmen that come in, especially at the quarterback position, said, I'm ready day one to
Yeah,
come
it's
in
pretty
and
rare. It
handle
is.
10 other guys in the huddle and take this whole university on my back and run with it. But what he is an athletic quarterback that when plays break down, he can get it done.
They're talking about the kid.
So when you have a
Lagway
dual
kid
threat
that's going to
quarterback, you
Florida.
don't necessarily have to have,
If you're just coming by the
scripted
show,
plays
hit the
for him.
subscribe button here.
you just say, hey, listen,
Subscribe
here
to
goes the
help us
ball.
get to 500.
There's one read right there. The second read is on your legs. Go get it.
Yeah.
And when you're at Florida and you haven't made a bowl game in 2 years, this is Florida. This is the swamp. National championships is what you go there to win. And if
Yeah.
you're a coach, that's the expectation. You haven't won 6 games. There's something called hope. This young man gives Florida hope.
Yeah.
They have a game manager right now.
Yeah, Florida's
That's
just
there.
mm,
But with the game manager, what do you need? Playmakers. They don't have a lot of playmakers.
No,
This
they don't.
kid here is a playmaker.
He
Gets
is,
the
but
ball
they're
in
still
his
going to
hands,
need
and
people
there's
around
one
him
or
to
two
be able to
guys that
play
can run around
and
for a
make
couple
plays.
seconds
And
and
again,
get the ball to him.
I keep saying the same
Guys
thing.
get
It starts
chance
it starts up
in order to
front.
get back to
It
what
just does.
situation.
That's just where it's
And
at.
with DJ Lagway, he's going to be in a similar situation Raiola was in. You need improvement from the quarterback position, and he's going to bring that to the table. He's poised as a dual threat guy. You can do a lot of things in the passing game with him, but the running game with him as well, including read option, power read, run scheme kind of things. When you are limited in some of the other skill spots, the Florida Gators are a long way away from competing for national championships, but they need him to play very, very
be-
well to get them going back in the right direction on the winning
You got to be able
side.
to tune your defense up.
Both of those guys.
Defense wins
He's seen a lot of
championship.
pressure,
Offensive
but
line is how you
74
move the ball.
total touchdowns as a senior. DJ Lagway, He's got it. He's got it in him.
He can score.
He can score. We know he can reach the end zone. I'm sure the Gators are hoping to see that a lot this fall. Let's talk about some maybe off the radar kind of guys. A name that you might not think of, but based on that opportunity could play right away. What do you think?
Well, I think that when you look at Ohio State and this football team, the transfer class they put together, the recruiting class they put together, and it was a lot when Kyle McCord left and they started jumping in the transfer portal, going after guys, and they ended up settling on Will Howard from Kansas State. I think you got to look at Aaron Nolan. Aaron Nolan was Ryan Day's guy. And regardless of what anybody thinks in terms of how the season ended in Ohio State, losing to the University of Michigan and how that upset the fan base, Ryan Day is one of the best quarterback coaches and evaluators of quarterback play in the country. And Aaron Nolan is the guy he picked.
Man.
He is only the sixth five-star quarterback in school history to sign with Ohio State. He has the goods. He can throw. He's athletic. He makes incredible decisions, a very live arm. Do not be surprised if he comes in and pushes the issue and really competes hard for Ohio State this season.
Yeah.
Okay, but I know this is National Signing Day. We have to take into account what Ohio State has done in the portal.
Spend a bunch of money is what they've done.
Julian Sayin through the transfer portal. You also have Will Howard, and then you talk about prolific quarterbacks they already have on that roster. Devin Brown was competing for Kyle McCord last season to be the starter. So where's I have trouble finding the opportunity there at Ohio State. I mean, we believe in him as a quarterback.
I think the bowl game kind of solidified what's going to happen with Devin Brown. So I would look at the competition being between him and Will Howard in terms of the guy who transferred in from Kansas State. Also, Ryan Day taking a different role and not being the play caller itself. So you're going to have an offensive coordinator that's coming in looking at what could possibly be a blank canvas. Now, I'm hearing that Bill O'Brien is going to probably be named the head coach at Boston College. And so if that happens, then that's going to kind of turn what could happen offensively. So in terms of having a fair opportunity for him to compete, you're talking about a five-star and one of the best guys in the nation there.
Yeah, O'Brien could be hired. He even called a play at Ohio State, and they brought him in to get Sayin. Sayin had committed early to Bama when O'Brien was there at Bama calling plays. And the connection that they had between his father and him was, that was the whole big thing, of getting Sayin to come to Bama. Well, he leaves, and Bama goes through some stuff, and they're trying to figure it out. And wound up making a big mess last summer. And they bring in this Reese guy, which turned out to do okay. He kind of hit the ground in the middle of a mess. And O'Brien, he'd come from the Texans. He was head coach. Well, now he's at Ohio State. So Sayin comes and he said, I'll come to Ohio State and play backup to Howard, and I'll wait my turn this year. Because he's not going to come in and play over Milroe, and he's not going to come in and play over Howard. That's the confusing part. So they hire O'Brien. So Sayin will come. But, the whole confusing part of all this is, to me, I don't understand if a kid's moving and he wants to move. I don't have a problem with a kid wanting to move to play. If he's probably, pretty good. He's a 3-4 star, whatever kid, and he wants to contribute to a team. I get it. I understand. And I ain't hold no grudge toward any kid for nothing anyway. But you're leaving to go play to sit and wait. Then why not just stay with Bama I don't care if the kid stays or not. I'm just saying stay at that school that you'd already committed to, if it's Folsom State, I don't care. But if you've committed to them and you're only committing to the coach, you need to commit to a program, and what they stand for and what they believe in and the mission statement of the university. But then you're not going to start over Milroe, but then you leave because you're not going to play and you don't like the coordinator. And then Grube is the guy that comes in, and he's considered to be, not my opinion, a much, much more better offensive coach than O'Brien. We've seen the O'Brien plays, and we've seen, watching Bama play, they were decent, and he wanted to throw the ball like 3rd and 3. He was just a pass-happy kind of guy. And our, running back wound up being the leading receiver on the team. So leaving and going somewhere else to not play, he's not going to start over Howard. Howard has played, man. He is a fourth, fifth year kind of guy. Come from Kansas State. I don't get that at all. So let's go back over and see who they got up on here now, what they talking about.
Something tells me that we're going to continue this debate, even though we're going to toss it over to our war room for more positional breakdowns, guys.
That's a heck of a debate. I would have loved to see that fade, Smoke. We're going to have to go back in the yearbook, take a look at that. Drew, one of the most underappreciated positions out there. How about the running back position? Everybody needs them, right? It's been devalued, especially at the NFL level, at the collegiate level. These guys have a tendency to play pretty early, and we got some immediate impact type of players that we're going to talk about. Let's start with the guy that you were very excited about. We're talking about it this morning. We're putting this list together. How about Caden Durham going to LSU?
Yeah, Caden Durham, he's playing his best football right now. His final 5 games at Duncanville High School there in Texas averaged close to 225 yards on the ground.
Yeah,
we saw him in the Polynesian Bowl, led that all-star game in rushing yards. I thought he should have been offensive MVP. He wasn't. It went to Mike Matthews, the wide receiver, headed to Tennessee. But Caden Durham, he can go. Once he finds a crease in a defense, he can find the end zone. And Cooper, I know you're well versed on the LSU roster. There's an opportunity for him to get on the field. They want to throw it around the yard, but there's a need at running back for LSU. Caden Durham seems like a guy.
Logan Diggs comes over from Notre Dame. He hits a portal. Now he's at Ole Miss. Noah Kane is out of there as well. They still got a really talented
Durham 5'9", 195.
Trey Holly,
like you said, played at Texas. Coming out as a 124th national rank.
Daniels is not there anymore. The Heisman Trophy winner. You take away his legs, LSU traditionally is going to have to get back to the ground. So it's going to be interesting. I think Caleb Durham can make an early impact.
Yeah.
Drew, how about our guy here, Dylan Jones, Wisconsin, got a wrestling background. His head coach has got a wrestling background too, Luke Fickle. But you talk about patience, vision, a guy with contact balance, being able to kind of bounce around and create yards after contact. Man, is that Dylan Jones. I love this guy. I know you're a big fan of him as well.
Yeah, Wisconsin took 3 running backs, and they need to because they're losing a ton of production. You think about the Badgers, Phil Longo there, air raid offense. Well, Cooper, they still ran for 161 yards per game. That was 6th in the Big Ten. Dylan Jones fits Big Ten football for me. This is a guy that can get it done between the tackles. Had a chance to see him back in May at that Under Armour camp in Baltimore. It was loaded with the mid-skill position. Dylan Jones was my favorite. I think we are an outlier on him in the industry. And you talk with some people there that cover Wisconsin. They don't even think Dylan Jones is the top back, but this is a guy we stamp, right? We think he's going to come in and play right away, especially with Brandon Allen off to the NFL. Big fan of Dylan Jones.
Are we just Wisconsin guys? I mean, you think about this class, right? What, the highest ranked recruiting class since 2010 to 20.
Talking about Wisconsin stuff. Now, this young man that we was talking about, the LSU class, ranked number 9, was wanting to get into them so we can go through some of their guys too. Now, Coach Kelly comes in and at LSU, and darn, he just comes in and wins the SEC, right off. So, wow. Made a staple to say that he can win down here, and that, these Yankee guys can come down here. Nick Saban did it. Come to LSU, same thing, Michigan State. LSU with this McKinley guy, their 5-star defensive lineman. He is from Lafayette down there, played at Acadena High School. Big kid. He's up about 6'6", 280 pounds, and that's just the normal. That's the normal size, it seems like, for these kids that play at LSU. Come out as a 98 grade, so he is close to being a 5-star plus type kid. Nationally ranked 18, 5 for defensive lineman. He was the number 1 defensive lineman player in the state of Louisiana. And to know how that state is, like defensive linemen just pop up out of the ground down there like turnip greens. I'm serious. They just come up from everywhere. He'd also, he was pretty heavily recruited through A&M and from Texas, but he wound up signing and playing with LSU. So that's going to be exciting to see how he plays. And, that's what they do. Good looking young guy there. It's about 6'6", 280, 5-star kid now, trying to add back to their offense because the tight end has become sort of popular, hasn't it? they have tight end day. That's what Kelsey was saying on the Peyton Manning show. They was talking about having a tight end day. That's pretty funny. But Trey Diaz Green, a tight end that's going to come over, and he's also from Louisiana, 6'6" and a half, 225 pounds. Just going with some of these 4-star guys. The McBride kid is going to play defense, safety, good-looking kid. With them also, wide receiver kid from Louisiana. That's the thing about Louisiana, dude. They keep their players at home. I mean, if anybody recruits their home state well, Alabama don't. Alabama don't recruit their state the best. They just don't. Bama probably does more in Georgia, and Georgia may do more over here. It's kind of strange, but anyway, the Davis kid come from Texas, another offensive tackle, another lineman, and a linebacker kid, the Singleton kid. Another Louisiana kid. He's a 4-star guy, 6'1", 208. I seen him to be 6'3", 210. That's the Singleton kid. Played up there at Many, M-A-N-Y, high school from Manning, Louisiana. Let's see exactly if they'll tell a little more on his. Yeah. Graded out wise, Arkansas was interested. He is also competes in track and field. Those are things you got to see, guys. He runs a 200-meter times of 22.63, 22.75. Also high jumped 6'3" and posted as a freshman in track field numbers. So helped lead Mary to Class 2A state title game as a sophomore. 2020 played varsity as a freshman and helped Manny to 12-0 record. So this kid here is a football player, Talon Singleton. He's going to be a linebacker. So look for Singleton on the back of that jersey. That's definitely going to be something to add there. Also, some more Louisiana kids, wide receivers, cornerbacks, LSU, bringing in plenty of talent. Xavier Atkins kid, heard a lot of stuff from him, played at from Summer Creek. And Summer Creek is one of those schools that's like, I mean, it's just what you typically think, like I've said before. If you're watching, again, thank you for coming by and hanging out with me on signing day. And we're just going through some of the schools and who they got. We're bouncing over here to 24/7 and catching some stuff from them, from SEC stuff. But this is Xavier Atkins kid. He's probably going to play. I know it shows him to be a 3-star, but I've seen him on some film stuff when we were looking at defensive players coming through Texas back last year. And Summer Creek is a big-time program. He was A&M had him pretty much locked in for most of the time, and I don't know how he wound up getting away, and he wound up signing there with LSU. Utah, UCF was looking at him. Notes are about him to say also runs track, sophomore 200-meter, 23.21 twice. Played it at Jonesboro Hodge, Louisiana High School. Prior to his senior season in 21, his highly productive sophomore season as a linebacker, recorded 20-plus tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. Helped Jonesboro Hodge to a 10-4 record and the Louisiana 2A state semifinal. Boy, I'm telling you, it's just, he looks like a football player. Xavier Atkins, going to be that's another one of those. So look for Atkins and Singleton. These guys come in LSU and just contribute pretty much immediately. When you see these guys on the clock, and then you notice something, young people, if you're getting to watch come by, you're probably supposed to be at school and paying attention. Any class, if you come by here, check out Locker Room Special Edition signing day. We do thank you, but these kids do not just play one sport, and these are highly recruited kids. They're not out of just some small school from out in the middle of nowhere. So that tells you. Transfers, I always like to mention some transfers. The C.J. Daniels kid, which was a receiver that played at Liberty, he graded down a little bit from 4 to a 3, so he wanted to move over, come to LSU, and see if he can make that happen. And we just kind of assumed that the Nussmeier kid. We was high on him during the year. He's going to be the quarterback there, so he wants to come, bring his stock up there and play at LSU. Jaree Brown, 5'11", 183 from Ohio State. Kid from Auburn, the Austin Asbury kid, 6 foot tall, 200 pound. Started as a 3-star, wound up being a 4-star safety. So he decides he's headed out and he wants to go over to LSU from Auburn to play. AJ Swann, 6'3", 228-pound QB. We know about him. I watched him play. He's from Vanderbilt. I didn't think he was. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see if he can. Coach Kelly's going to give him a shot. Let's need to try to spit it out there. I don't think he's that bad. We covered him. He's from Canton, Georgia. He played over at Cherokee, and I remember talking about him. Probably 2 years ago, like as a junior or senior in high school. He was pretty good, man. He was a good high school. I remember him coming out being a good recruit. AJ Swann from Vanderbilt's transferred over to LSU. Xavier Thomas, 4-star guy, wide receiver. This Thomas kid, I liked him. We seen him play a little bit last year. Played over at Mississippi State, and he's moving around. He's from Louisiana. Played at Joan Earhart High School, and supposedly he was interested in LSU highly. Then he winds up getting moving around, going to Mississippi State. So he also. I swear, I wish I could show you this right here. The last three I've read of these. 3 words, also runs track. He ran anchor leg at John Effett's Louisiana 5A, 6th place, 4x100 relay team as a junior in May of 21. Also ran 11.08 in the 100 during junior track season. Wow. Okay. So he's come in from Mississippi State. Transfer, and wow, they got some really good. And lastly here, a safety for Gilbert guy from A&M comes over to LSU. So, whoosh, who's going to be the QB? I mean, this the Swann kid's he's not bad, but if Nussmeier's still there and transfer rank 44, their composite rank is 7, their overall rank is number 9. That's LSU. We'll go over here and talk some. Let's see. Who else y'all want to talk about? Give me some comments on here. I went through Bama and yeah, you're right, Lance. It's all fun and games till, like Tyson said, till you get punched in the nose. Everything's all cool and dandy. The dog's going. Hold on a second. We'll get back over here and I'll put them up here on the screen. Hang on. Okay. What they got going on here now? Let's see here. God almighty, I've done it again. I hate this stupid thing. It pulls the tabs apart and won't. I don't know why it does that. I have to. There we go.
They had to spend the COVID year playing in Las Vegas for half of that season. Couldn't even practice in their own backyard. They were in contention for the Mountain West Championship multiple times, won it once, were tied for it this year, got left out by a tiebreaker. What Brent Brennan did at San Jose State was fantastic. But more importantly, he made San Jose State a factor with recruits, not just in Northern California, but in the whole state and really out west. Now he brings a big chunk of that staff with him to Tucson, most notably Alonzo Carter, who we've all been big fans of. I thought Alonzo Carter could be in contention for the head coaching job. That guy was super connected in the Bay Area, and he still is from his time as a high school and JUCO coach. So that effort that Brent Brennan was bringing to San Jose State, he's going to bring it to Arizona. They're going to the Big 12. Like he says, they don't have the pro recruiting guy, especially when you look at what UCF has.
Okay. Let's go back over here and we'll get into some more SEC teams and where they got and who they got. We've been through, we didn't do Oklahoma, did we? Let's see here. Ole Miss. Let's see. Oh, no Kiffin trains rolling here. 17th overall composite rank, 21 transfer portal number 1. Again, so Kiffin is filling these spots in with kids, things that he needs, and he knows what he needs. He's the head coach there. So let's take a look at position-wise, offensive lines, 4-star guys from Houston, Mississippi. And another kid from Mississippi there signed, defensive lineman, wide receiver, Deion Smith from Mississippi over there. Defensive lineman, an athlete, Norrell White, athlete to play over there at Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Played there at St. Martin. 6 foot 185. Karan Beavers, kid signed, offensive lineman, Oak Grove, and 5-star athlete. Okay.
They're sighing some relief. The 5-star athlete, the number 1 athlete in the class, signing with Texas A&M this morning. And there was more good news for the Aggies as the top 247 wide receiver Ashton Bethel Roman signing with Texas A&M today. He originally signed with Arkansas. That was back in December, but was released from his NLI. Smoke, real quick. What kind of player
Hillcrest.
Well, like I said, great pedigree.
Thank you for stopping by down south. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, we're just on here talking some smack, I guess, and
phenomenal guy.
Just kind of going through this, and I'm gonna be on here for a while, and I'm gonna be talking about some SEC schools on and off, and we'll let these guys talk a little bit, and I make sure I don't want to get copyright struck
You study him
for any of that for
you can see
playing because this YouTube's stupid.
Runner.
So I have to put this up there.
Long arms,
Out of the copyright law, Section 106 says that if you're using this stuff as spreading news, and I'm not just playing it just to do something because it's free to anybody who has YouTube. It's not paid for. I'm just playing this, and we're talking about what they're talking about.
Everybody else is.
It's just more advertising for them. Go over 24/7 Sports. They do a fantastic job. I've put in for. I've applied for jobs over there before.
2 big wins for Texas A&M today. Meanwhile, the number 8 player in the class, wide receiver Ryan Williams, well, he and then recommitted to Alabama, and he is officially a member of the Crimson Tide. The number 1 player in Louisiana, defensive lineman Dominic McKinley signing with LSU, and then wide receiver Gatlin Bear signing with Oregon. Huff, you think that Ryan Williams, top 10 player in this class, could make an impact in year 1. Why is that?
I think it's because of the talent that he brings. Obviously, Alabama's need for that game breaker receiver. Remember, 2-3 years ago, they had Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith.
I've watched Williams play in high school, watched him play games in the season.
Williams in the last couple of years.
He's different.
Williams is this type of player.
He
Ryan Williams,
is different.
Is this type of player. And Jamarcus Shepard will not be afraid to play young receivers if he's got him. When he had him at Washington, he played a few of them. Jeremy Bernard saw time right away this year. Yes, they had some veteran receivers, but at Alabama, a game breaker like a Ryan Williams becomes huge, and he's the kind of player that can make an early impact for the Tide.
Okay, it is not National Signing Day without a live commitment. This guy, Seattle native Rashawn Clark, is set to commit with us live on this show in just a bit. As you'll remember, he signed with Arizona in December after flipping late from Cal. Now Washington is in the mix. Huff, who is the favorite in this race?
I'd like the Huskies to keep the hometown kid home.
Yeah, Williams.
To be the first class.
We've seen him play. If you live around here and cover high school football, he can just get in the shower and jump out and not even get wet. I'm telling you, I've never seen nothing like it. Him and Makumbo, too.
One of the most versatile players. Originally committed to Cal, he wanted to play receiver, signed with Arizona.
And they played each other's state game.
He's being recruited as a defensive back by Washington. I think that's where he ultimately ends up. But we'll know for sure today if he sticks with Arizona or if he's going to stay home.
One of those coaching moves affecting things on this signing day. Another live commitment on today's show, one of the top prospects out of Arizona, defensive lineman Keona Wilhite. Now, he originally signed with Washington, got out of his NLI after Kalen DeBoer left, took a few visits, but 4 crystal balls are in for him to land at Nebraska, including one from the man sitting next to me. So tell us, why are the Huskers the favorite here?
I think it was the stability with the Nebraska program, with Matt Rule being in his second year, heading into his second year, defense coordinator Tony White, who was a candidate for other defense coordinator jobs and even some head coaching.
We'll let them talk about Nebraska for a second. Ole Miss, position wise, Lane loves to add those, offensive line. He knows how football teams win. You can have a great quarterback, which he does. He's got a couple of good quarterbacks actually, at Ole Miss. So to have an offensive line, I mean, you go out there and you get guys. So some early people that came in, late of last year and whatnot, and through the time, 6'5", 275 offensive tackles, hip kid from Scottsdale, Arizona, 6'6", 240, going to be a tight end for Ole Miss Rebels. And then on defense, he's looking around to get a cornerback, the Broomfield kid from Mississippi. We got an athlete coming in, the Darwin kid, another safety he signed in, Jaffe, Jaffe kid, Andy Jaffe, which played at Clearwater, Florida, as a 3-star, 6 foot, 175. Like I said earlier, don't let those stars always fool you. Those are done by people that try to evaluate talent by, watching the kids play and then, looking at how they perform sometimes in games. And sometimes kids are better gamers than they are at practice. And you go to practice and they watch them, they talk to the coaches. And I'm not being ugly or trying to be rude or like I don't know everything. These guys we're watching get paid to do it. And I'm definitely not saying that I was ever some kind of all-star football player or my, 1 year junior high and a year of varsity I didn't even finish because I hurt my knee or whatever. And so I'm not claiming that. I mean, I'll just be fully transparent here. But they never played. I'm not saying they can't, but I don't know. It just seems like it would be hard to, like Lance on here. Lance drives a truck. I've rode with him everywhere, and he's a great driver. I would probably want to go to him if I needed to be trained for driving, or if I knew somebody wanted to. My son wants to drive a truck. I'm going to say, hey, I don't see him down here at the dollar store to get trained by a guy that, scans cookies in. You see what I'm saying? Now, not that the guy that scans cookies couldn't ever drive a truck. I mean, we can do whatever, but what I'm saying is these stars are evaluated by sometimes some people that you don't have to be good at the game to understand the game. Everybody knows the greatest ever. Saban was not a great player. I mean, Coach Pinkel that, coached at Missouri kind of laughed, when they first started coming in and Bama and Missouri was going to play. He's like, no, he's smart. He gets it. But this Andy Jeff kid and a lot of these other 3-star players, if you get rated as a 3-star, don't just drag your head on the ground like, well, that's it. I'm never going to get a shot at it. I'm just 3-star. What's the use of even going out here? I'm a 3-star. Because 3 stars, you play with a chip on your shoulder, and it makes you work twice as hard. Sometimes those 5 stars, they don't want to give that extra. Coach Bryant used to talk about at practice this week. What if that kid that's, give a little more at practice than the kid down here in this other bracket that did not give quite as much? Well, the kid that's give more practice and better prepared usually wins because he's just going to be more resilient. So don't get too down on yourself for the 3 stars. This kid plays safety, and he played over at Clearwater. I'm just saying I had seen this kid before, and he's transferred. He's committed here to Ole Miss. He was 173rd ranked as a safety. Been looked at by Duke, Bowling Green, and Boston College. And good things to say about him. I swear you think this is planted. Also ran track. Posted a personal best of 11:36 in the 100-meter dash in the spring of 2022, made plays in all 3 phases as a junior from Clearwater Catholic Central that went 12-2 in Florida's 1M classification, whatever that means. God knows there's 1,000 schools down there. Got snaps primarily at safety and at wide receiver. 123 total tackles and 2 interceptions and played defense and still made all those catches. Max Preps, while he's also had 7 passes, he threw for over 100 yards and a score on offense. So that's what I'm saying. Andy, Jeffe, I'd run across him back probably last year, somewhere in some Florida recruit, I don't know, somewhere. And he's at Ole Miss. He signed and just thought his story was interesting, kind of picked him out. Now, transfer, People aggravating Alabama about getting Washington transfers. I think they got 2. Well, Ole Miss picked up the 2 linemen, the Buelo and the Kalepo Calpo kid. Both of them 6'6", 300 pounds. The other one 6'8", 313. Both 3 regraded as 4 stars, transferred from Washington to Ole Miss. So that, if you've been paying attention today, guys, the offensive line is how this works. And we started out talking about Bama and Auburn and Georgia. And Bama's Auburn's going to bring them in a good quarterback, we think. I think White's supposed to be pretty good. He's supposed to be able to throw it through a screen door at 200 yards. But you see where old Lane started. He went right out and said, well, you know what? Oh, DeBoer's leaving out there. He's going to come to Bama. Well, I think their offensive lineman won the best offensive line in the nation award last year. I'm pretty sure they did. So he goes out and just gets their 2 best offensive linemen. The center went on to come on to Bama, and that receiver, that Burden kid, he wound up coming over too. That's how you win. It starts up front. Now, the reason Washington didn't win was because Michigan had a lot of experienced defensive players. They're good, and they play good as a team. And you didn't know a lot of those players' names. And you probably won't see a whole bunch of those defensive players be pulling out like, going first round NFL picks like whoever, like these guys left Bama, from Mark Barons to Hightowers and McLean's and Rashad Johnson's and those type, players that play defense, and Kool-Aid, because Michigan had a good team. And Harbaugh figured it out. It took him a few years, and he did. So this is what Kiffin's doing. He's going to build this offensive line up, and he's going to take care of the ball because he's going to have a quarterback. And Lane knows how to draw up plays that fits for what he has, fits for what he has. Now, the other kid that left from Bama, I liked Amos. Speaking of defense, he come in and filled in some plays, in different packages, or when Kool-Aid went out, he turned his ankle, or something happened. Amos come in, and I thought he did good. He didn't leave because he wasn't going to get to play. I don't know why some of these. They just see a new coach, but again, I'm going to get on this trail. You leave a school to play for a different coach, but you're going to play for a new coach if you leave. So you're still playing for a new coach. I don't get it. I just don't get it all. Anyway. Guy leaving another corner, that Tunnage kid, Brandon Tunnage, played at Tennessee last year, good football player. Let me see, where did he play at? I remember watching him play. He's from Mississippi. Okay, so he actually came from Oxford. I swear if I wrote in here and it said he also ran track. 6'1", 185-pound athlete from Oxford. Long, dynamic defensive back with frame and skill set to play throughout the secondary. Fairly physical, but could play with more aggression. Okay. Well, those are things he can fix through the style of football that he'll play over there at Ole Miss. Kid from Michigan, one of their corners, the Walker kid, 6'3", 180. He's going to be there at Ole Miss. Played a lot of football, plenty of experience, and he is from he's from Louisiana. Went and played football at Michigan. Now he's back down here playing Ole Miss. I swear if it says that he also run track. Competed in track and field as a freshman when he triple jumped 41.7 in 2021. As a senior, he helped Ponce de Leon. You know how I pronounced that? And I said, I even pronounced it right, Ponce de Leon. Like I got some French in me. I know what I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding. 12-1 record with Louisiana. 5A state runner-up finished 2020. Missed 6 of 9 games as a junior because a hamstring injury. See those kind of things? I catch up with you. We're talking about Amron Walker. He is at Ole Miss. He will be 6'3", 180 pounds to be play corner back there with Amos. So, guys, now, we're going to play 12-team playoff. So here's another kid, Logan Diggs, come over from, I think where did he come? Did he come from Texas? Let me see here. The Diggs kid. I thought he played it. Logan Diggs. No, he come from LSU. Okay. Come from LSU. He's come over to Ole Miss. Running back from Louisiana. Moved right on up the road there. Wants to go leave Coach Kelly and go play for old Coach Kiffin. Multi-sport athlete in football and track. Name class 5A, outstanding offensive player, Louisiana Sports Writers Association and All-State. Also, as a junior, helped the Rummel to a 13-0 record, that state championship in Louisiana Division I playoff bracket. And his freshman year, he had 6 games he missed due to injury. And that is Logan Diggs, coming from LSU as a running back, headed over to Ole Miss. South Carolina, kid from Florida. Wow. Okay, listen to this. I always get these names, man. I don't know how I get them. They don't do a darn list, and it'll be just a name that anybody could say, to be like Don Smith, and then I get one like this and fix to tell you how to spell it. Yeah, welcome back here. Princely, UMANMIELEN. Millen. Where are these people from? Where was any Millens at when I was in kindergarten? When I was in Head Start over at Cedar Bluff? Where's any Millen? Anyway, he's transferred from Florida. Good looking kid, man. Edge rusher extraordinaire. Come from Florida, 6'4", 250. He's going to be playing over there for Coach Kiffin. The kid played over at Manor, over in Texas, and he probably run track. Defensive lineman. He'd be a 3rd or 4th round pick. Reminds him of Henry Anderson from the Jets. Long arms, allows for encouraging, being disruptive in the passing game. 2-sport athlete, played football and ran track. Kids, if you have a track program at your school and you want to do things like run, you're a running back or you're a defensive end, do you see a trend going on here? Can you hear me now? Listen, if you're going to play defensive end and be a running back or something, it shows right here, statistically, 100% of every guy that I've clicked on that's an edge rusher or running back, they've all run track. Young people, if you want to get after it, then the better way to get after it is getting better at getting after it. And you do that by running more and running a lot. Lineman and a safety. Here's another linebacker, Chris Paul Jr. from Arkansas, 6'1", 230, nice size. See what his intangibles here. 68 overall his position. He was a 3rd linebacker committed, ranked in his state. 2nd team All-American as a freshman in high school, and all SEC as a freshman at Arkansas. Had an outstanding season, earning 2nd team freshman All-American from the College News Writers. Played in all the football games. Had 62 tackles, 8 for a loss, 4 sacks, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries. Followed up with a career best 2 tackles for a loss, including a sack. We're talking about a kid that's going to Ole Miss that left Arkansas. Man, how do you let him get away? 2021 freshman redshirt during his first season, appeared in 4 games, seeing time against Georgia, Southern, and UAPB, Missouri, and Penn State. Wow. Golly, what a list, man. Go check this kid out. Transferred December the 4th of last year. Oh, goodness gracious. So Kiffin, overall transfer portal 1, overall ranking 17. Wow. Let's see what you're talking about here. Breaking down the pass catchers, 7 of 32 five-star recruits 2024 are wide receivers.
All getting fed. There was plenty of food
Recruiting
to go
class
around.
for
Yes, you
receivers
have
and quarterbacks.
distributor, and a guy like Michael Penix, I think he's going to be looking to recreate that with Jalen Milroe and Tuscaloosa. Plenty to go around in that Kalen DeBoer
And
offense.
Austin Mack, that was their Washington's quarterback of the future. He transfers in there in Tuscaloosa. I'll say this about Ryan Williams. The reclassification stuff, I don't think it's going away. We've done done the data, looked at guys that have done it. The track record isn't great. Ryan Williams, I have no questions about. 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Alabama. He's produced a ton. He's played 39 games. He's ready to go, and we saw that in the All-Star setting. He might be the exception.
Yeah,
right
I
now
think Coach Rule do good
A lot
at
of eyeballs in the state of Alabama. A lot
at
of
Nebraska.
ones this year.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming by and hanging out. I know
Drew, how
if you're not
about
real
this guy
busy
in the
right
state of
now,
Florida?
it's kind of the middle of the week.
Some say
This
it's
is
your
my
backyard, maybe
slower
not.
day. Glad
TJ
this come
Moore, you
on.
talk about a rising
Bama
guy that
Auburn
jumped
basketball
over
comes
80
on.
spots after what
6
he did
o'clock.
at
We'll
the
check it out.
All-American
Iron
Bowl.
Bowl.
And in
Bama's
case you didn't watch that
going up
game,
on them
he
right
had
now,
165
and
yards
they're going to
receiving.
go to
He also
Auburn and
had 2
play and see if
touchdowns as well.
we would suspect
MVP
Auburn
went
probably
to
beat
Corey
them.
Parrish. I think it could have went to TJ.
So if y'all
Moore.
were
He
looking
just
for
could've
something to do
pulled off
later
that
this
one. But
evening,
Drew, this guy showed up 6'3",
cook you up a big pan of
195 pounds.
beans
The
and
first thing that kind of went through
some
my
cornbread,
mind
I
is,
guess, and watch some
where the
Alabama
heck
Auburn
has this
basketball.
guy been on Clemson's roster? It's been a long time since we've seen a guy like T. Higgins or Justin Ross. Where are these dudes? And immediately I thought to myself, here he is, right? And at the end of the day, we felt very comfortable making this guy a 5-star, put him in the top 32. Drew, we saw 19 of the top 20 receivers in the country over a 3-week period. This guy was one of the best pound for pound.
Yeah, all cycle we thought Bryant Wesco was the guy for Clemson. And we're not writing off Bryant Wesco here, but after seeing those two in the All-Star setting, right, comparing their senior seasons, it was clear TJ Moore is the potential wide receiver 1, I think, for the Clemson Tigers. And we'll see how this plays out. Something I'm going to be studying. All right, who does separate themselves? We think it's TJ Moore right now. Bryant Wesco has some traits as well. TJ Moore, to me, you think about potential freshman All-Americans. The ACC, man, freshman wide receivers can play right away. We saw Kevin Concepcion last year, Eric Singleton at Georgia Tech. And again, I don't want to keep bringing it up and hammering this home, but Clemson, they're not in the transfer portal. And if you go back to their 2023 class, I think it was 8 guys played over 350 snaps. TJ Moore is going to be a guy for them. And you could say that about the entire recruiting class for the Tigers. So excited about him. I think his second gear, right, when the ball's deep, run under it, he can adjust. I think that's what really stands out about TJ.
Their margin of error is so much slimmer because of the way that they operate. And hey, to each their own, right? If you're going to recruit the high school level, they've had a lot of success, especially in the defensive line. You think about guys like Peter Woods, TJ Parker, you think about Christian Bentancur, right? Those are guys that can play early. You're going to need them to play early if you're not going to dip into the transfer portal. Drew, you said remember the name, right? I think that's a category that we want to talk about. Well, that's important because we got 34 receivers within the top 247. So there are a lot of guys that deserve a lot of love. Let's start with one that just really consistently worked his way up our board. That's Kylan Billiot heading to LSU. Guess what? Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, both those guys going to hear their name pretty early in the next couple months for the NFL draft. I feel pretty good about what they got coming back in that receiver room. Cortez Hankton's done a phenomenal job. Might not be year 1, but this dude seems like he's up next in Baton Rouge.
Classic case of just being kind of in the middle of nowhere. Kylan Billiot, you can't find the statistics for him on
just
Max
talked about
Press or in the
some of these guys,
newspapers or anything. I was talking to him about it at the All-American game. I said, I couldn't find any information on you. And he's like, well, how did you guys invite me to this All-Star setting? I said, we believed in the tape, and we did believe in it. Shows up.
Yeah, we
in
just
San
talked about
Antonio,
him.
and he's a quarterback's best friend, and that's what it should be, matching up
It's good, man.
the tape with the
He's
live
gonna play.
evaluation. I think he's just one of these guys where you're going to look up 2-3 years from now. How was LSU the only guy on them?
Yeah.
And they always do an excellent job in the booth.
They
but he's
recruit
an
their own
LSU
state.
receiver, long stride, high hip, can go get the football. I think he has a very bright future there for the Tigers.
Terrebonne High School, home of Louisiana. I see you, baby. You're not in the middle of nowhere. Don't you worry about that. Another guy who had a big week at the All-American Bowl. How about our guy, Jordan Shipp, man? North Carolina is one of those programs you better check out what they're doing because every year they just seem to pump out this talent, and you wonder where they get it from. Well, he was hooking up with the guy, Jaden Davis, who's going to play his football at Michigan. A lot of people thought, hey, is Channing Goodwin the guy? He's also heading to Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
I don't know, Drew. This guy showed up in San Antonio. Pound for pound, I thought he was one of the best players there.
Ready to play size. I'm going to steal that term from our guy, Gabe Brooks.
Ready to play size.
24/7 Sports Scouting. Past 2 seasons, 128 catches, 223 yards, 29 touchdowns. Production matters, right?
Yeah.
Look at it. Study the guys that are getting the
Gus
job
Brown
done on
still got
Saturdays
it in
and
there,
Sundays.
though.
They had huge senior seasons. I heard this from someone in Chapel Hill, right? Jordan Shipp, before he showed up at the All-American Bowl, he went through Duke Mayo Bowl practices with the Tar Heels. They said that he exceeded expectations. Remember, Tez Walker's out. I think there's a chance Jordan Shipp can get into that rotation sooner rather than later.
2 other names pay attention to here. How about Courtney Crutchfield going to Missouri? I mean, a lot of people invested in Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, we
This
haven't
was a
talked about Missouri. It's going to do
surprise.
Tennessee
I don't
next
see much
year.
difference. Love Courtney Crutchfield, Malcolm Simmons. You think about that receiving core. A lot of people talking about Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane. What about this dude? One of the most athletic profiles in the country. Emily, there you have it. A lot of nerdy receiver talk for you. I'll send it back to you in Studio A.
I love it. I love how excited you guys get about all of this, and I learn a whole lot. Speaking of learning, we're going to continue to do that and bring in national recruiting analyst Brian Dohm to do some ACC superlatives.
Okay, we'll let them do some ACC superlatives. That's fine. Thank y'all for coming by and hanging out on the page here. National Signing Day going on, and we've just kind of been going through the teams from Georgia and Bama and Auburn and Oklahoma and LSU. We just talked about Ole Miss. Now, how about the 12th ranked Volunteers from just north of here? The Hunter Orange and White, Coach Heupel bunch, and quarterback Nico. He's good, man. I did a breakdown of him last summer. I always felt like he was better than Milton. I always had felt he was. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a coach of a college football team. I'm not a coach of any team. So, but he's going to be a difference. Tennessee's going to retain some of these defensive players that we've been talking about. The wide receiver position, this Matthews kid we're looking at here, played over at Parkview, man, over there at Lebanon. We just talked about a kid that played over at Lebanon. He's a 4-star guy. I seen him as a 5-star guy on different sites like Rivals or somewhere. The Staley kid is another receiver, so he's doing what he does. And Coach Heupel is an offensive coach. And that's how, he coaches a game. This kid played over at South Carolina, 6 foot 180, 4-star kid, Staley. Boo Carter, a safety, 4-star. He was a 5-star guy. He's right over here out of Cleveland, Tennessee. He's not really that far from here. I've seen all about him, know about him. Actually, here's a little tidbit of information that you may not know. Spring Garden girls went and played in a big girls basketball tournament at this place called Bradley Central. Big school. They would be a 7A here, around here. Well, this Boo Carter plays football there. And that team they're ranked like 25th in the nation. Coach Austin took his girls from Spring Garden up there to play them, and they played them pretty close. It's not surprising. But this Boo Carter, he's 5'11", 185. I've seen him listed as 6 foot 190. And sometimes some of this stuff don't get updated like you would think. For like, well, this is a big time guy. I've seen him as a 5-star. He's rated 150th nationally at his position, and he's fixing to graduate. He's going to come in. He's going to definitely contribute, and he also played basketball. And guess what? I bet y'all couldn't guess. I bet $100 you couldn't guess what I'm fixing to say next. He run track. Imagine that. He helped turn his team to the Final Four as a junior up there at Bradley Central, totaling him 7 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Last year, he led the Class 6A Mr. Football Region 2 6A phases of the game for Bradley Central, which went 13-1 and made the state semifinals, ranked up to 1,700 all-purpose yards, 27 touchdowns, caught 55 passes, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. And on defense, after he did all that, he made over 100 tackles and 2 picks. So this Boo Carter kid, and that's again, that was in reference to Spring Garden girls went up there and played their girls in basketball in a tournament. Bradley Central, Boo Carter, check him out. He's going to be playing for Coach Heupel at the Volunteers from Cleveland, Tennessee. Peyton Lewis, good-looking guy, tailback, supposed to. I've seen him, had been listed. Also had seen him listed earlier as a 5-star. They show him as a 4 now. 170th nationally. Has been committed to Tennessee for a little while. Has a wide shoulder frame, muscles, and mass without losing speed. High school background. Yeah, guess what? He run track. I swear, man, all these kids run track. Run the 55 meter, the 300, set a personal best in the 60 meter. Football, he rushed for 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns. So Tennessee is not by any means. There's not going to be much of a letdown. So if you're thinking that, well, Bama's got to go up there this year and they beat them last year and whatever, and it'd probably be taking care of business. That's going to be a good game. So if you're a Bama fan, I would definitely suggest to circle that game on your calendar. The Merklinger kid, supposed to be coming from Savannah, Georgia. He'll be doing some backup quarterbacking because nobody's getting Nico's job. Some earlier signees. Would be Jordan Ross from Vestavia Hills. Played over here, Birmingham. I saw him play. Last year. I think he was number down south. Still on here, he might seem like. Man, I remember number 24 that played that position. Played down at Vestavia Hills, 9th nationally, and he's an edge rusher. Maybe it's 54, but I've seen them play. They played Hoover last year down at the Met, and man, that Vestavia team, man, they got some darn. I got some playmakers. Let's see. The Warren kid signed as an offensive tackle. Got a cornerback, Beasley. There's another Spillman kid, Edwin Spillman from Lipscomb Academy, out there in Nashville. He's signed to play over here. Jordan Burns, linebacker, signed from Atlanta. Going to be playing at Tennessee. Cole Harrison, Jerome Hurd. We'd heard about him he played over here at Rome. We just talked about him earlier and some of their picks. Transfers from Stanford, a guy from LSU. We went through some of these guys. So now, let's see. We could look at some of the other. Why is it? What are you doing? Stop moving every time I try to. More SEC teams. We hadn't done Missouri. What do y'all think about Missouri? Sorry, I have to keep wiping my nose. My nose runs, and just that time of year, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. It gets on my nerves, and it strangles me, and I can't talk. Let's see here. Missouri Tigers come in respectfully at 21 ranked right now. Is what they're looking at. 20th composite 11 on the transfer portal. Let's look down here at some of his signees. Transfer guys from Michigan State. They have a edge rusher. They have a running back that come over from Appalachian. Got a kid from New Mexico State, a defensive linebacker from Wyoming. Brady Holtman, not ranked any star. Chris McClellan from Florida as a D lineman, the linebacker Flag from Miami. Darius Smith, he was an edge rusher, played at Georgia. He's going to be at Missouri. And the Green kid, Caden Green, 6'5", 316. transferring over to Missouri, and the kid from Clemson, Torrin Pride, a cornerback, transferring over to Missouri. So who's some of their top players, Matt? Who's some of their guys that we should know? These, just names to be thrown around here that we would know. Well, here's another one of these kids that everybody had in their class, Nwaneri, Nwora. Yeah, well, I had 2 or 3 of them in my school. Nwora, yeah. Played at Lee Summit, Missouri, 5-star kid. He's trying to build some defense and make sure they can play good on that side of the ball, because Missouri they're going to fool around and wind up beating some teams probably that they shouldn't beat, like last year. Now, of course, losing Schrader, that's not going to help at all. And then the receiver, Burns kid. Courtney Crutchfield is a wide receiver from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Jalen Brown, kid that come from Madison, Alabama. He's going to come in and play defensive line for him. Where did he play at? Oh, play at James Clemens. Okay. Jalen Brown, 6'5", 260 pounds. He's a large kid. Alabama A&M, Alabama State. Wow, he jumped from he got on the board there and jumped. Let's see if he run track. Well, but he had 60 tackles and a bunch of sacks and went 7-4 to make Alabama's 7A playoffs. James Clemens they're a big school, man. That's a big area down there. Here's a kid from Mill Creek. He's going to be good. The Greco kid played at Mill Creek. 14th overall ranking. He was looked at hardly by Georgia Tech. He's played safety. He's going to come in and play corner for Missouri. Talking about Missouri, Coach Drinkowitz here. Some of their kids, 4 or 5-star kids. They have some corners and edge rushers, and then it kind of goes down somewhere 3A. The James Madison kid. Trying to look for some local kids on here too. There's a kid from Tennessee. Joplin, Missouri. Okay, here's Jackson Hancock, athlete, played over here at Sequoia from Canton, Georgia. Okay, he come in 58th ranked. His position, 3-star, Missouri, Coastal Carolina looked at him, App State, and those type of guys. So Missouri has some pretty good transfers, 11th overall ranking transfers. Coach Drinkowitz is doing a fine job, and we'll continue to go through any other SEC teams, and we'll go back over here on the talking side and see what they're talking about here.
In San Antonio.
Fires out of his stance. You said it.
Offensive
how
line
he moves. I remember a clip from inside the Alamo Dome. He was out by Jeremiah Smith, who had caught like a swing pass blocking for him. He's headed to Penn State, who's probably going to use him on the interior. At like 95% of programs around the country, they'd be using that tackle because he looks like an offensive tackle. He's also got one of the biggest necks I've ever seen. I wanted to get the tape measure out, and it was a 20-inch neck. I mean, he is a thick cat. Penn State, their strength and conditioning program. I mean, Cooper Cousins is going to be a monster moving forward, and the fact that he can snap the football only makes him that much more valuable.
Penn State's got a lot of tools, especially when you think about that offensive line, what they did there last year. Anthony Donker, think about Javen Williams as well. Bring in a guy like Cooper Cousins, kind of ties it all in together. They got to get that offense going a little bit. New OC, we'll see what happens there. Drew, I'll tell you what, for as much criticism as Clemson and Dabo Swinney gets, we talk about him a lot, awfully about these guys that could have a potential impact early. Another one, Elijah Thurman, kind of came on the radar late, had a really good week in Orlando at the Under Armour All-America game. What do you think about this kid? I kind of love his long-term potential at the center position for Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, Torian Wilson, who was the offensive line coach there at the Under Armour game, a good friend of mine.
Let's go in here.
He said Elijah Thurman's going to be able to play right away. He just thought he was the most technically advanced, or one of the most technically advanced guys in that type of setting. I think what stands out about Elijah Thurman is, again, that versatility. He can snap the football. He can play right tackle. He can play both of those guards.
Again, it keeps grabbing this thing, and just stop doing that. Okay, let's talk about Oklahoma. Got to get some Boomer Sooner here because they are part of the SEC now, guys. Whether it's kind of crazy, don't it? 5-star David Stone, defensive lineman, played out down at down at IMG Academy out of Florida. Taylor Tatum, kid played over at Longview, Texas, and we all know those kids can play football. He's going to be a running back over here at Oklahoma. See what he looks like. Overall, number 1 running back, 6th in the state of Texas, 48th nationally. Let's see. He was recruited by USC, Coach Wiggins and Coach Gillespie at Bama recruited him, Arizona State, and he did have some visits to Arkansas. 2nd or 3rd round guy. Talking about Oklahoma. Top tier running back poised in 2024 class with classing of a typical style running back build, previously on the leaner end of the spectrum, but bulked up gradually through high school in his career. So getting up to that 200-pound mark is what they want. All-time touchdown leader and eclipsed 4,000 rushing yards threshold. Pass catcher who can flex. Excellent athlete and profile. Run the anchor leg for Longview, Texas 5A regional qualifying. Sprint team, you run track. 400 touches in the final 2 high school seasons. Suffered a hand injury that required surgery at the end of his senior season. Once the nation's top backs 2024 cycle cataloged with physical tools and play style should fit with the offensive schemes and project for high majors. Wow. Okay. Sheesh. Taylor Tatum. Tatum could be a look for an SEC running back of the year. 5'10", 205, that typical size you like to see it at running back, over 200 and, 5'10"-ish. Taylor Tatum in Oklahoma. Okay. Eugene Brooks, offensive linemen, wide receivers for Coach V to try to take on the SEC and come in and be competitive. You want to come in and you don't want to come in and just lay eggs on the first year, and we'll start doing their schedules pretty soon within the next couple of weeks as we get more through some college basketball. We're kind of finishing up high school basketball, not finishing on the state level, but a lot of the local teams are finishing on their local play, and they will start getting into region play. So we'll start talking about some of these schedules. And Oklahoma, it's not going to be the easiest schedule, and it's not bad as Florida's. Let's see here. Another linebacker to bring in Danny Okoye, an edge rusher that comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I remember seeing him play at Noah High School. I've seen stuff on him before. Devin Jordan, a corner, a lot of defensive guys. Wide receiver, Zion Reagans, Michael Hawkins, another offensive guy, KJ Daniels from Bowling Green, played up at Franklin, Louisiana school. Xavier Robinson, he sounds like a running back, don't he? Ooh, he's 6'2", 220. And he played at Cal Albert and over around there in Oklahoma City. Okay. And I bet he run track. Let's see here. Also run track. If you've been watching and hanging around with me for about 2 hours now, every player that's a running back or an edge rush guy, they all run track. Every one of them. He run a 24.98 200 as a sophomore. What? Robinson, Xavier Robinson, pretty heavy looking kid, man. He looks, big around. You just kind of see his head and neck area. Not a tall, thin looking guy. 6'2", 220, that was about the size, or I was about 6'15" or 6'3", 215 or so, my high school size. So, sheesh. Number 7 running back in the state of Oklahoma, 3-star. But I done told you now, them stars, man, those guys that grade these people, they're not always just extremely accurate. Here's a kid from a tackle, a Kuhneman, 6'4", 310 pounds, high school, NFL Academy. He's from London, England. That's pretty new to me. Baylor, App State, Arkansas. Oh, looking at him. He went to NFL Academy in London. Somebody help me out on that. NFL Academy. What is that? Let's see here. Talking about Oklahoma, one of the newer teams into the SEC. Transfers. They got one of the Washington kids, one of their other offensive linemen, the Hatchet kid, 4-star guy, grades out very good. A tight end, got a quarterback that come over from Florida Atlantic, Casey Thompson. And he played he's from Newcastle, played football up there at Newcastle. So he's went down there to Florida Atlantic and thought he could do it, and decided against it and wanted to come back to Oklahoma and play. Deion Burks from Purdue. We got a kid from San Diego State. Spencer Brown, Michigan State, a 3-star offensive tackle. These are the Sooners. Oklahoma trying to just right outside the top 10 in national ranking at number 13. And I think we kind of went through most of these, probably the most important ones. Bama, Georgia, Auburn, Ole Miss, Tennessee, mostly the ones that most people care about. Most, we ain't got a lot of Arkansas fans. Or did Missouri. Texas. They are number 5 right now ranked, and we'll probably round up some of this and talk about Texas here. And we'll get back over here and see. Oh, we got a live commitment. Let's go over and see what's going on. I like these kids to get some.
Making my way to the league.
All I can do to help.
Keona, what kind of player is Nebraska going to get in Keona Wilhite? What kind of player is Matt Rule and defense coordinator Tony White getting? How would you describe yourself to the Husker fans that are excited about your arrival in Lincoln?
If I describe myself, in one word, I'd say a dog. Because I'm a hard worker. I don't like taking things easy because I don't feel like taking things easy will make them better. So, yeah, I'm a hard worker. And every time I touch that field, I promise I'll play every down like it's my last.
Big fella, what's your message for all the Nebraska fans out there watching you today?
Go Big Red.
I love it. You're going to be saying a lot of Go Big Red in that household. Keona, congratulations. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your big day.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you to Keona and the Davis family for joining us here on National Signing Day. You can read more about this new commitment at Huskers247.com. They got all things Nebraska, a huge class coming in for the Cornhuskers and Matt Rule. So read up about it at Huskers247.com. Let's toss it over to the War Room.
The favorite position of the Oyster Boys. How about the point of attack, right? We talked about offensive line. Now it's time to talk about defensive line. Drew, we're going to put our own spin on it. We're going to talk about the best position hauls. And how about this? When is the last time you ever said the best defensive line position haul came from west of Texas? That has been a long time, maybe early 2000s, Pete Carroll, USC. Well, how about it? I think Dan Lanning, Oregon, they got a pretty good case. I mean, you go down the list here, brother. Who do you got? Elijah Rushing, 5-star. Aiden Breland was in the mix at one point. Jericho Johnson, Zadavian Sims. Both of those guys we saw in San Antonio at the All-American game.
Yeah, those are crazy good defense linemen. Yes, Texas, that'll probably be – they're going to be favored definitely to win it. They're going to bring back a good team. They got a good playmaker in Isaiah Bond, and he decided that a Ford Bronco would lure him away from another great offensive coordinator and not play with a new coach, so he can go play for a new coach for a Ford Bronco. Okay. So second team All-American he was. He wanted All-American money, and Ford Bronco is what he got. So and best wishes to him and hope he has a great season. Santonio Wilson, a guy that was signed his letter of intent, the 4 guys here at Texas. The Kibble kid, he is just a 3-star guy, played over there also in Texas as a lineman. See a lot of lineman positions. He brought in a punter, Michael Kern. Well, let's see about some transfers. Black, talked about him, and Blackshire, two guys to play tight ends and linebacker. Blackshire didn't get a lot of playing time. He wound up grading out as a 3 or 4 star, he wasn't bad, but leaving coaches and stuff, but Coach Roach is now your co-defensive coach, and before he ever knew who his coaches was, he took off. I guess he was scared he wouldn't get to play. I don't know. He wasn't bad. We watched him play in the A-Day game. And then, of course, Amari Niblack, he come in and contributed. He made some catches. He's from Florida kid. He played down there at Lakewood. He was number 1 tight end coming out and was excited to, see him come and be part of the Alabama team. And, they decided they want to do some other stuff, and we done talked about Bond and his, it's just quitter attitude, and there's reasons why kids move, and I'm not against, all the kids moving, but just to move for a vehicle or some money, or because you're not leaving to go play. You're not getting benched. So now, like the Black and Blackshire, I don't know. I don't know how they may have fit in because they didn't get to play a whole lot before. So they thought, hey, look, I'm going to get out while I can. I'm going to go get mine. I get it. I'm not, dead set against that, because there is no loyalty to any programs anymore. Kids just play for themselves. And I hate that. Not all. So it's not all I'm saying, but a lot of them just kind of play for ish. And it is what it is. And that's just the way it is now. Trey Moore, edge rusher, come in from to Texas from the Louisiana Monroe. Andre Macumba. See where he is from. Kid that played at Austin, Texas. Good looking guy there. Plays safety, 6 foot 195. Come in and left from Clemson to go to Texas, and from Houston, just moving kind of down the road there. Matthew Golden, a 6 foot tall wide receiver. So I try to see trends here when you look at this stuff where these schools are picking up wide receiver, linebacker, tight end, defensive lineman. Those are the kids that they picked up in the portal. So he's going to do what Sark does. They're going to play offense. They're not going to play a lot of defense. His number 1 guy for his class was, of course, the Simmons kid. He committed back some time ago. Played at Duncanville out there. Linebacker, supposed to be really good. 6'2", 220 pounds or so. He's a real head hunting kind of guy. I watched film on him back last year, December or so. He can play football. He'll probably come in. So Simmons, keep an eye out for him. I talked about him back during the year last year. The Wingo kid also is going to be a wide receiver to come in and probably to contribute. Him and Bond will be in some kind of ways to make plays. He's got a lot of offensive tackles and some corners. But the running back, Jarek Gibson, he's played at IMG, and he's from I think he's from a smaller school down there in Florida. This Gibson, so just remember that name. Texas Longhorns, Gibson. He's that running back. He's 5'10", 200 pounds, ran the 100-meter track out there, come from IMG, so he knows what he's doing. If he come from IMG, he's definitely he's been geared. He's been trained to play football. So keep an eye out for Gibson as a running back out of Branton, Florida from IMG. He was number 3 at his position and number 12 in the state. Athletes and edge rushers, quarterback, Trey Owens. Trey Owens was a kid that we followed and picked up. He's from that Greg McElroy type place. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. Again, Trey Owens. Watched him in some camps out there in Texas. He'll graduate in just a couple of months here. He was 48th overall in the state of Texas, high school-wise, District 17 6A, offensive MVP for the second consecutive season, 2 years in a row. He led Cy Fair to 11-2 record in regional semis, to complete 222 of 313 passes. He had over a 72% completion percentage for 3,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, only 5 picks, fueled a overtime upset. They beat Katy in the playoffs. That's what brought us into it, because I think it seemed like we went up. I got into a story covering one of those kids, I think, from Katy, and they talked about the team that upset them. So this Cypress Cy-Fair that's in Cypress, Texas, because you just have to look this up, but how it is high school in Texas. They'll have like a school with like 5,000 kids in it. And then like across the road, there's another high school with like 5,000-6,000 kids. Just crazy. It's just insane at the, oh Lord, it's like Georgia and Alabama all put together and Florida shook up. It's just huge, man. They have some huge schools. Let's see, named Texas District 17. Okay, it's District 17, 6A, offensive MVP. And I don't even know how to explain it. I got in a rabbit hole looking at some of these players from out there. They have different A's, and then there's different, there may be like 10 districts and just in, 20, 30 districts in 1A. There'll be 30, 40 districts in 2A, and just on and on and on. And I mean, this is District 17 in a 6A. So, there's at least 17 districts for 6A, and their 6A classifications, there'll be 5,000 kids in a district, and 17 times 5. We do the quick math on that. Oh, God, that's big as DeKalb and Cherokee County together. That's crazy. Okay, and then his junior year, he started 3 games as a 10th grader and led them to a Texas 7-on-7 state championship. Okay, consolation game during the summer months. So this is a kid I had run across earlier. And don't leave him off. Owens, not Randy Owens, not his son, but Trey Owens. And Trey played out there at Cypress, Texas. I remember talking about him and running across him back earlier in the year. Tight end, a linebacker, also that this is Texas, and Coach Sark and their staff. Christian Clark from Mountain Point, Arizona, to come in and be a running back. He's a 3-star kid. Parker Livingston, a receiver, defensive lineman, corners, defense, punter, and that's kind of it for them. So they're going to finish around 5, in recruiting. So, wow. Texas could definitely be a team. I don't know why they wouldn't make why would they not make a 12-team playoff? Are you joking? I mean, they were just he run into a guy that with Washington, Sark did. He run into a guy that can call good plays like he can, and had a better quarterback. Basically, I mean that's what else? How the other way would you really put it? Because I ain't never really been a Ewers fan. I hadn't, and I can't, tell you, how I feel about it. And I just have to be honest. I just ain't never really been a big Ewers fan. And I think the better quarterback won, because that's usually how it works. So Penix took care of business and wound up taking Texas out with Sark. So, to say that they're not going to, probably not make it back, why not? He'll probably be favored, again, and to come in, and if he wouldn't have got hurt, probably could have been a Heisman candidate anyway. And they're going to be a run the ball. I've just named off a couple of names, some players to watch for at Texas. Some kids that played right there in the state that are really, really good. So let's see what the signing day guys are doing here before we'll jump off here.
Putting his hand up, batting a ball down at the line of scrimmage. Tennessee sneakily generated a ton of pressure. I think they were second in the SEC in tackles for loss last season. James Pierce obviously is the dude. Well, here's another guy coming along, and someone that they beat everyone to the punch to, right? Because if Jordan Ross was on the market following the All-Star games, what is the bidding war for him then?
Yeah, Jordan Ross. You talk about a guy to maybe bet on here over the next couple of years to be one of the premier pass rushers in all of college football. Jordan Ross, a very good name. Drew, I'm going to tee you up because that's what good friends do. This is a guy I know you like. Tell us about Nasir Johnson, the guy that flipped from Florida to Georgia. And another guy you want to bet on that says, hey, maybe 3 years from now, where'd this guy come from? We got him inside the top 60, but I think you and I pretty convincingly think he's got top 32 click.
Yeah, Georgia, you talk about the defense, and we're going to get into the linebackers here in a little bit. Linebackers, secondary, that's not the issue. Georgia right now, I think they're kind of lacking, that true elite difference maker in the middle. Now they have some really talented pieces. We'll see what Jordan Hall looks like here in 2024, but a guy that can be an X factor, like a Jordan Davis, like a Jalen Carter, someone that's just the dude, right? He has a star underneath him if we're playing the video game. Naz Johnson, to me, is someone where, there is a monster ceiling there. Played at Dublin High School, was committed to Florida. I thought Florida was getting a steal. Love how he displaces his weight. I think he could be a Power 5 offensive guard if he wanted to be. But what he does is freaky for a big man and how he moves. I think Naz Johnson is the potential gem of Georgia's class. We want to talk about the defensive lineman. Everyone talking about Joseph Ajonye. I'm buying stock in Naz Johnson.
No surprise the dogs are getting it done in the trenches, but how about some unconventional names also?
Yeah, Ajonye, that's the one I just talked about him.
Throwing the pains as well, getting it done. Back to Studio A.
Love to hear it, guys.
Yeah,
Hey,
Missouri.
a reminder, 60% off annual VIP subscriptions on 247sports.com. You see all the things right here.
Subscribe to their channel.
With
These guys do this, all the time, all day. I would love to be able to go over there and do that. I've applied for a job over there. I did. I turned in a resume and said, hey, I've been doing my own show now for, several years.
You
Being
joining
a
us
buddy,
here
and
on this
I've
National
tried
Signing
for a
Day. So
job
let's
there.
get you caught up on today's
So what's going
headlines.
on?
The
Get
biggest
caught.
question mark going into today, Terry Bussey. He entered the day an unsigned Texas A&M commit, but officially putting pen to paper. Huff, how
Okay.
important was this
Yeah,
win
Bussey was
for
on.
Mike Elko?
It was gigantic.
Yeah.
He's going to be
He
a
didn't sign in December, so then you spend 6 weeks wondering, are we
he's
going to
gonna
get
be a
him back in
receiver
the
or-
fold?
or
Then you
corner
got
or something
Georgia
for
and
them.
LSU and Alabama all making a push. Those are three of the last few national championships, and Texas A&M didn't
Quarterback.
have anything to show for when it comes to that. And now they have a defensive head coach. So
He's
to
one of
hold
those
on to him
guys.
to get his signature today is, no pun intended, Mike Elko's signature moment as a recruiter at Texas A&M so far.
Yeah,
Come on,
and
that's
remember,
excited. You can be honest with us here. Hey, more good news though for the Aggies. Top 247 wide receiver Ashton Bethel Roman also signing with Texas A&M.
yeah, A&M's going to have a good class. Let's see where they wind up being. Let's see here, Texas A&M shows them at 16 right now. The Blake Ivy kid, edge rushers, the receiver, the Williams guy, the linebacker, and athlete they just talked about, wide receiver Campbell.
Bear signing with Oregon. Some more five-star signees from today's signing day.
Yeah,
and
Williams
it is
signed
not
Alabama.
a National Signing Day show without some live commitments. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's good.
Seattle native Rashawn Clark is set to commit with us live in just a bit. He signed with Arizona in December. Now Washington is in the mix. Huff, who's the favorite in the race for him today?
Well, I would
Des
say
Rick,
that right
6'1",
now, the
182
Jed
from
Fish's
Bama to
chances of
A&M.
signing Rashawn Clark for a second time are looking
Cornerback.
very good. He got out
Ricks.
of his NLI with Arizona, visited Washington.
Tight
Now, can
end
the
from
Huskies get
Washington,
their first
Watson.
in-state player in 2024? We'll find out here in the next 30, 40 minutes.
That would be his signature moment.
Kid from
Happening this
JB,
hour, one of the
JB.
top prospects out of Arizona, defensive lineman Keona Wilhite officially committing to Nebraska. That happened live here on our show. Huff, who are the Huskers getting in this guy?
Mhm.
They're getting one of the most versatile defensive linemen out
Yeah, look
west.
for
One of the
Nebraska,
best years for
Coach
defensive
Rowe
linemen
try to
in the
put some
region.
stuff
They're
together.
coming out and actually getting a player outside of the West Coast to go
Oh,
to
right.
the Big
Okay.
Ten and play at Nebraska. This is a guy that, speaking of
Here's
Jed
some-
Fish, he had him at Arizona.
Some news for you local people, if you're interested. I wondered where he was going to wind up here. DeRicky Wright played right down here at Gadsden City, Alabama. He was at Vanderbilt, played there for a while, played cornerback position, safety position. he is at Texas A&M. So we'll be definitely cheering for Mr. DeRicky. Says him at 6'4", 217. Gadsden, Alabama, DeRicky Wright. How about that? Hope y'all people are still hanging out with me here, and I do appreciate it. National Signing Day, and you can hear about some letters of intent and some signing classes for some of your favorite schools and where they're going and who's kind of getting who.
We'll be committing with us live here in just minutes. We have promised to answer your questions. As a reminder, the way that you submit your questions is in the chat. The only way you can access the chat, a subscriber of the 24/7 Sports YouTube
You'll subscribe
channel,
to
so make sure that you
24/7
hit
Signing Day there. And okay, so Texas A&M, DeRicky Wright, local guy, played up here, and that's good. I'm glad to see him land somewhere. Maybe come in and play safety. He had, I think he may have led the team in tackles. And he had several interceptions, at Vanderbilt. So he's no stranger to playing a SEC schedule. So that's not going to be a big deal for DeRicky at all. But I saw a lot of 5-star guys at A&M. But, Coach Elko coming from Duke, he's a very compartmentalized kind of coach. I think a lot of guys say that he's a player's coach. I think the players always have always liked him. He's always seemed to get along with players and to calling plays that seems to fit his team is what I've always liked about Coach and seeing him around the way and what he's done. And we could look up some of his lifetime, coaching record and those type of things. But I think what helps him to be successful there will definitely be we're talking about Coach Elko at A&M is being head coach and being a coordinator is just two different things. If you can just focus on your offense and call plays and not that it's easy, but to be able to put things in categories to where everybody has their own job, I think he's good at that. And I think he's going to do fine there. And I think, just my 2 cents, I think that was the problem with Jimbo. I don't think he could to departmentalize sections of his coaches and where they needed to be and how they need to control the kids. And the game the game has changed so much, so fast that, we just talked about, Bama Sunday bringing in these 2 coaches, one guy that retired from the Navy to be these, personnel coaches. And those guys are going to be, to have to do with some of this NIL stuff and some of this portal stuff. And you're getting in kids because kids are going to be coming in and out. You're not going to have a lot of kids just come in and stay. So Coach DeBoer already has seen how that can be a problem. And for A&M, Coach Elk, he'll see the same things. And he'll hire a staff to be able to put together, to be able to take care of those kind of things. Because it has changed so much. And we're really seeing this year just really overpour. And with Coach Saban and Coach Harbaugh gone, and it's a young man's game. And he's not a whole lot older than me. And I think that's what will bring him a little more success. I think Jimbo's just an old school coach. He come from the old school ways. Him and Saban, all them guys have been buddies, and Coach Stoops. And, Stoops is over in the UFL. I think he coaches which team does he coach? Is it the Missouri team or Skip? Holtz does the stay-in team, and that'll be coming up pretty soon too. And we'll talk about them some, as that's going on. Scarborough plays, down there. So Texas A&M, and how do we think they're going to finish? Well, we're going to start doing some of that. We're going to start getting into some of those on the show. We'll start doing them through our rest of the month. Will probably be, we're finishing up some stuff here, and college basketball. March will always be fun for college basketball, but after that, spring football is going to start, and I want to start seeing some. We'll try to get some coaches on here, and maybe start bringing in some players on some interviews and talking to some players and see how it's going, and where are you at right now where you're, because kids are moving around too, where's enrollment, and we got a lot of reclassifications, around here locally too, from our smaller schools like Cedar Bluff. They're going to go back up 2A again. My son played, they were 2A his sophomore and junior year. They played 2A. So that's kind of going to be the show for rest of the month. We'll do Super Bowl show 4:00 Sunday. 4:00 Sunday we'll be live. We'll come on for maybe an hour and talk about Super Bowl and talk about news, some of this recruiting stuff. And like I said, when we come on, this recruiting right now, like today, it's not as big as it was when we started that 2020 year, as we got into the first of the year, January, February. Right now, this kind of stuff right before all Cain broke loose and everybody had to go lock up in the house and hide, and all that stuff started changing. Well, we were doing this recruiting stuff, and now kids are recruiting early. A lot of kids feel like it's just best to get it out of the way and just go ahead and recruit. So that downplays some of this, to where it's not as big as it was. And you still get some live recruits, and it's still, a big part for a kid's D1 school start today. And it goes through, I got it in my book over there, I think April. I think they got through April. So college signing days for Alabama's had a good day. The Carter kid had signed earlier this morning, and Williams by far is the most significant player for Coach DeBoer to sign. I kind of like when Saban come in and got Julio. It's just, it's a big deal. Carter was originally a Washington signee, but asked for his release of a letter so he could come back out and play for Coach. And this Reese kid had been committed to Alabama since September last year. He stayed with his commitment. 6 foot tall, 205-pound linebacker. Looking forward to having him out there. I'm sure the coaches are. Coach Roach, be excited to get his hands on some of those guys. Particularly talented on the outside, both sides of the football. The stellar receivers, Williams, Arian Hampton, Amari Jefferson, and Rico Scott is all his athletic tight ends, and Caleb Odom is going to be another kid you're talking about. Defensive Chris Tide has also the multiple 5-star process defensive backs of Macumba and Zayden Brown. We talked about him last week, and the Mincy kid will definitely be additional parts to Alabama, and welcome into some of their defensive backs. The Woodyard kid, Red Morgan, and of course Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. right down here from Gadsden City. He's going to be a part of the Crimson Tide team also. And those are some names thrown around for college signing day. We'll see how Coach Freeze and Brandon Huffman's team to watch. He thought Auburn would definitely be, they're going to probably finish in the top 10 or 12, and it's important to know that, just because it's not your team, that maybe you feel like they're not going to have, Alabama's going to have a better class, but what you have to know is Auburn adding the pieces that they need, is it the pieces that they need, pieces of the puzzle? Is that what Coach Freeze is adding to the table? And I think they've already kind of got, because like I said, those early signing days are a huge part of that. Well, Auburn had hoped to get a shot at Williams, but he canceled his go over there and take a visit. And we talked about Coleman and Thompson and Williams, the defensive lineman kid that played it from North Carolina, a linebacker Reddick from Chilton County, and 6 foot tall, 212 pounds. Composite score. He was a 4-star athlete. We're talking about the Riddick kid that's going to play at Auburn to be a linebacker, 6'2", 212 pounds. Edge rusher extraordinaire. The Waller kid that's to come in and play from Mississippi. We've seen him back earlier in the year. Read a lot of good stuff on him. Seen some of his high school play. I think he had another kid. I think there was another kid that played on the team with him that was maybe staying in state, going to stay at Mississippi State or Ole Miss. Played on this same team at Vicina Memorial. Played at one of the schools over there. And Mississippi's got a lot of great high school players too. And this Waller kid, I can't see nothing of my left eye. Just watered up on me. So, and of course, we talked about Walter White, kid from Arkansas. He's supposed to be great. And I need to look in more than him. I need to study a little bit more. He set lots of records, 6'3", 215, got the size, got the talk, shows to have the walk. He was ranking number 106 position, ranking number 8 quarterback. And it wouldn't hurt for them to go after another quarterback. It's going to be good to have a couple of guys in the room down there. Because, what do you do if he gets hurt? What are you going to do then? A linebacker and edge rusher extraordinaire, the Phillips kid from Booker T, 6'2", 250 pounds, which, they played a huge part in the deciding game, if you know, and you're watching local guys here. Booker T wound up beating Jackson and getting them out of the playoffs. And a lot of media people had picked Jackson to play local high school up here in Cherokee County. And Booker T coach and the guys just said, why not us? And they beat Jackson. They beat Duckworth, and now Jackson will be back to reclaim that this year. Be a very interesting game in their new region stuff. That be good. Wide receiver Kane coming from Mobile, Alabama, to play for Coach Freeze. 5'11", 170. He was the one I was talking about earlier. I remember now, Devontae Smith, won the Heisman at Bama. Same kind of size, wasn't beating on nobody. He's fast, runs good routes, and that's where Auburn is going to be at. Last guy here, DeAndre Carter, played about from California, 6'4", 240 pounds. Be a good part of that. And the Simmons kid, we talked about him a while ago also, another kid from Mobile, 6 foot, 175. A lot of speedy guys. Corners, Crawford, come in and play for Coach Freeze. 6 foot, 180. Defensive line guy, TJ Lindsey. They talked about him a while ago. He comes in from Florida, played down at IMG. And those are some players. The kid from Pike Road, the Blockton kid. I don't want to miss him. 6'4", 270. He's a big kid. Very good kid. Wish him nothing but the best to come over there from Pike Road and see how it turns out. I think we kind of got an idea of probably where a lot of the kids have gone, because, it's not a woo pig suey, wow, this class has just really jumped from like 12 to 3 because there's not a bunch of kids today. That's just not how it is.
At the All-American Bowl, ended up having to get tightrope surgery
Linebackers here
on campus at Clemson. I think he's a name to know in the ACC moving forward.
350 tackles, over 5,000 rushing yards. You know what's funny about Sammy Brown? You turn on the tape, at least it was my opinion. I thought he had a better feel for the running back position than he did a linebacker. I think he's more of an athlete that needs to grow into the linebacker position. I'm not saying that he was ever going to be a running back on Saturdays or even Sundays.
I'm saying he could be.
I'm saying he could be as well, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we see him in some short line situational packages on offense for Garrett Riley. He's too good of an athlete. All right, so that's one player there. The next guy on the list, Notre Dame, man. And it was a guy we needed more information, more context throughout the process. Keep talking about San Antonio and the All-American Bowl. Well, we keep bringing that up because it's one of the only settings in the country. This time of year, you get to see good on good. How about Kingston Viliamu-Asa? I mean, you talk about a guy from St. John Bosco, Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman. They go all the way out west. They beat USC for this guy. USC needs defense. Notre Dame makes him a priority. Drew, I think he's the most instinctive linebacker in this 2024 class. And you talk about a guy that can make an immediate impact. This is the guy that I have circled.
I think he's the most violent of the linebackers here in the 2024 cycle. Someone, we moved up in the rankings, like you said. I saw him at this game here down in South Florida. I mean, sideline to sideline, just drilling people. And you think about Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, how do they take the next step? Well, the College Football Playoff expanding to 12 teams. You pair him with Bryce Young, who finishes a 5-star for us. That defense is getting better and better. They're getting true difference makers in the middle. It's hard not to think with Kingston.
Yeah, where do you think?
Multi-year starter, impact player in the middle. I love everything about him. He was great, like you said. I think with that linebacker,
you think Notre Dame finishes?
Read and react, find your keys, and get to the
Coach
football.
Freeman gonna get him
He
in
does
the
that at a
playoffs?
high level.
What's interesting about Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, we've always said, right? Like they are going to have to find a way to acquire top-end talent. And they took a lot of criticism from the two people on this desk. But for me, they got in the batter's box with Dante Moore. They got in the batter's box with Peyton Bowen. And you kind of go down the list, Keon Keeley. That's tough. They got their heart broken. It's kind of hard to bounce back in the same way that it would be any relationship, right? To say, hey, these are the type of players that we need to bring into our program to reach a national championship. Here's the thing. If you were to say at the beginning of last year, who is going to be the highest ranked player in this class, I think all the money would be on CJ Carr. He ends up ranked the 3rd. Right? How did they do that? It's not that they beat these teams head to head. Yes, Viliamu-Asa, they had to do that. These were great early IDs on Bryce Young, who ends up in the top 32 as a defensive lineman out of the state of North Carolina, and a really good one in Kingston Viliamu-Asa, who ends up in our top 50. And people might say, well, hey, those guys seem like no-brainers. Sure, at the end. But where they started in the recruitment, that was not the case. I think Marcus Freeman and his staff deserve a ton of credit for the job that they have done, really saying, hey, we have to overcompensate in today's NIL era, and we just got to be 1% to 2% better than everybody else. Those relationships matter at Notre Dame because at that place, it's all about the fit. Kind of reminds me of my time at UW.
Yeah, and you're seeing that in the 25 cycle right now, number 1 ranked class. We talked about this a little bit on our show Tuesday.
Yeah,
just
I broke
the early identification, getting
2 weeks ago they had a number 1 class.
Building the relationships and selling kids on South Bend, selling them on the logo, selling them on the tradition of playing there for the Irish. Excellent job so far. I think the 2025 class has a chance to for them to add even more difference makers to the mix.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Florida Gators, about DJ Lagway. Billy Napier still putting it together on the recruiting trail. Guy that you really like, late riser for us, Aaron Childs.
Yeah, Aaron Childs, him, Miles Graham, 2 top 247 linebackers for us. We were split throughout the senior seasons. Which one do we want to have ranked higher? Aaron Childs, to me, always thought he was a more forward-facing linebacker. Then we see him at the Under Armour All-America game. He impressed me in coverage, running with different tight ends and slot receivers. This is a kid that's 222 pounds back in May. He had a 36-inch vertical jump and a 10-foot 2-inch broad jump. Cooper, those are like NFL combine testing markers.
That's what I was going to say. Those are NFL type numbers.
Childs, what Florida lost in the transfer portal, Scooby Williams on his way out. Just as much as they need a talent infusion on the offensive side of the ball, defense is really where they need to get better. I think Aaron Childs is a guy that is going to play, and he could play as early as week 1 when Miami comes to town.
Miles Graham, another linebacker expected to play early out of the state of Georgia. Drew, speaking of Georgia, you can't talk linebackers without talking about the University of Georgia and Kirby Smart. Clint Schumann deserves a lot of credit as well. You think about the guys they brought in last year, about C.J. Allen. You think about Raylan Wilson, Troy Bowles as well. Bright future for him. This year, they follow it up with Justin Williams, the number 1 linebacker in the country. Chris Cole, not too far behind, a 5-star for us. And then Chris Jones, a guy that we like out of VA. How do these guys keep doing this? And don't they feel like they have a different identity when it comes
Bolden.
to really kind of picking out second?
Don't forget him.
Because Georgia doesn't
Best
take
player in the
developmental
nation.
guys. You come in, you
How
play.
did they
if you
miss
don't,
that guy?
You're going in the transfer portal. You're going to go be someone else's treasure, right? I think it's the ID, and then they're not afraid to go head to head. I mean, Justin Williams is a kid they pulled out of Texas. It's not like Texas didn't have a good season. It's not like Texas A&M hasn't got in-state blue chip talent to stay and play for the Aggies. I think it's the ability to go find the talent wherever it is and be like, hey, you are going to be a linebacker at Georgia, and you're going to come here, and then you're going to go on to get selected. Past 3 NFL drafts, Cooper. 19 defenders out of Georgia have been selected. How many more are they going to have here in 2024? 4 or 5 more guys. If you go to Georgia and you get on the field, you're going to go get a paycheck on Sundays. And I think that's what's working for not only just at the middle level of the defense, but in the trenches and in the secondary. I know you like Chris Cole. You're the one that kind of pushed for him to get that 5th star. What makes him stand out?
Athletic, speed backer, projection, shows up in Orlando. You're like, who is that guy?
I know.
You know, a couple INTs as well. A lot to like about him. So, Emily, no surprise here. Georgia still pretty good at this recruiting thing. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much. We're going to continue our superlatives with the Big 12, and national recruiting analyst Mike Roach is here to break down the conference for us. Mike, let's start with your instant impact player. It's the highest ranked recruit in Texas Tech history in wide receiver Micah Hudson. But the Red Raiders fans out there want to know, what can he do for them this season?
Well, I talked to Joey McGuire just a couple of weeks ago in a exclusive interview I had with him that I released this morning. And he said flat out in the interview, look, you'll never hear me say we're going to redshirt Micah Hudson. He's been a factor since the moment he stepped on campus. He's already on campus there. And
Okay. Gosh. Richmond Hills football player, Georgia. Let's see here. I'll finish out here. Georgia lands #1 recruiting class again. Kirby Smart's 8 years at Georgia, head football coach. So he's got 8 years. So he's got 9 more years to win 4 more titles. If he can win 5 titles in 9 years, he can pass the counterpart. With 28 signees, Alabama being #2 with 3,000 points, Georgia with 3,100 points. The Bulldogs finished #1 2018, 19, and 20. Also, in the last 8 recruiting classes, Georgia has Georgia finishing lower than 3rd. Since Nick Saban retired, says Kirby, is unequivocally the best recruiter in college football. I don't even think it's even a discussion. True. So not only is what he's doing impressive in recruiting, but the snowball effect that kids are going there and getting developed, that they're becoming millionaires because that will only beget more kids that want to do it in Athens. So I think it starts with Elias Robinson. He's a kid who's big and looks like he could be a lumbering cornerback, but he's so smooth and so competitive that he's going to have a very solid career in Georgia. DeMello Jones to Justin Williams or Joseph Joanna Agnoa, the Thomas kid, Dwight Phillips, a 4-star, and the other 2, the defensive lineman we talked about, Thomas. The last time Georgia finished out of the top 5 was in 21. They finished #1 in 18, 19, and 20, and finished 9th in recruiting in 2016. Let's see here. And let's see. Frazier kid is more than an all-purpose guy. Dwight Phillips is going to be the speed guy that can be that kind of counter to all that stuff. Is what is said by recruiting at rivalsgeorgia.com. These 2 guys, Thomas and Phillips, may be a little underranked just because the other ones had more of a national profile. So right now it looks like, let's see if I can get a final rundown. Let's see. 25 recruiting classes. And let's just say we'll start from 20 and go backwards. A&M's 20, Carolina's 19, Nebraska's 18, USC 17, Penn State 16. Michigan Wolverines come in at 15th ranked for recruiting. Tennessee Volunteers at 14. Florida Gators 13. Clemson at 12. Florida State up to 11. Notre Dame coming in at the top 10. Auburn at 9. I thought they'd break the top 10. Oklahoma 8. LSU 7. Have 1 5-star and 14 5-stars. 15 4-stars and 13 3-stars. Oklahoma at 8 had 2 5-stars, 12 4s, and 11 3s. Auburn at 9 had 2 5s, 9 4s, and a lot of 3-stars. Notre Dame had 1 5-star. Texas at 6. Texas has 2 5-star players, 9 4-star players, and 11 3-stars. 2024 class fell a bit short for the expectations, falling outside of the top 5 for the first time since 2021. But, what I said a while ago, man, I can't keep up with this thing. And I know you go back and look at national championships and the years that Bama won it, they usually have the number 1 recruit class those years. But as long as you're filling the spots that you need as a program, that's what matters, man. You got to fill the places, the positions, and the coaches know what positions they need. And I've seen schools recruit not in the top 5 or so, and be in the playoffs and give their teams a chance. And now you got 12-team playoff. Man, you're gonna have a high advantage of a possibility for kids to play more football because you're going to have 12-team playoff. Okay, number 5. Everybody tuned in here. Thank y'all for coming by. Subscribe to the channel, man. Come back and hang out with us Sunday nights at 6 o'clock. We do this all through the year. We don't take breaks. We don't have off seasons. We cover college football and during the season, high school football and stuff. And we're going to talk about recruiting now. We'll get into schedules and stuff as we go on through into March and whatnot, and college basketball some. So subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 500 today. Miami, Coach Cristobal, I think he's a good coach. It's just everybody expects so much. And I know he's been there a couple of this will be his 3rd season, right? I think this will be starting his 3rd season. It's just hard, man. It's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard for anybody to win and just come out and win. But there's a better chances now than there has been because you're getting kids to come in and can they can contribute because of the portal. Kids that are coming in have played football. Okay. It's not like the kids that are coming out of high school have never played college football. Well, now this transfer portal, Miami, number 5 in recruiting, man. If they put that together down there, watch out. You better watch out because that area in general is just talent. There's just guys running around all over the place down there. They play a game down there, a high school game. It's called the Muck Bowl. Look it up. Just hit Google while you're listening. Go over there to Google. I think it's MUCK, BOWL. This area down here is just they built this high school football game on where supposedly these immigrants came back in the 100, 200 years ago, and they dumped these coffee grains out. And this whole area, this little spot is built on the field is where it's coffee grounds or whatever, and they call it the Muck Bowl. There's so much talent running around down there, and these coaches go in this area and recruit it, and it's kind of dangerous because some of these little shacks, they don't even have power or water in some of them, but they have some of the most talented young players anywhere in the nation. If they put this together and Coach Cristobal gets it done, they could very well be that. Miami is always going to be a dangerous team. I remember my times when Miami was very dangerous. Now, Hurricanes number 5. They have 1 5-star, 14 4-stars, and 12 3-stars. Miami hasn't had a top 5 recruiting class in the 24/7 begins each of their classes, which has started during the 2010 era. Despite a disappointing last couple of seasons under head coach Cristobal, it looks like he has his things that he's wanting to do and implement going in the direction that he is trying to do. And to say he looks like that he has things on the right track in Coral Gables, signing a top 5 class this year, that's a good way to keep your job. I'll say that. The biggest name in the class was 5-star defensive lineman Justin Scott, who was the number 1 ranked prospect out of Illinois and the 3rd ranked defensive lineman for this class. Miami signed some other big-time defensive playmakers, which be in this class, including 4-star line edge rusher Marquise Lightfoot and Booker Pickett Jr., and a defensive lineman of Armando Blunt and Artravius Jones, also added to the Hurricanes roster. Perhaps the biggest signee in Miami on the right track in this latest class would be the Hurricanes signed the most top 25 prospects from the state of Florida this cycle. That's dangerous. I'm telling you, if he's from there, man. He played down there, okay? If Coach Cristobal figures that out, and what he just done, he recruited the state of Florida, more kids from the top 25 in the state of Florida. Coach Cristobal just figured it out. All they need to do is try to get in this playoffs and win a round or two and at least get into a Final Four. I'm telling you, man, their talent level alone, you just got to put it together. And it's just going to take somebody special and a special staff to get them all running in the same direction. And when they do, ain't nobody going to beat them, man. I'll tell you right now, if Cristobal gets all this figured out, the Hurricanes they'll make it national championship games. Now, as even as things out now and how the portal is, it may, even things out a little bit. They may not win it. If he's doing this, he's going to get top 25 prospects out of Florida. Dude, Florida, Cal, Texas are the top states in the nation to have high school prospects and the best high school players around. If he's getting the top 25 out of each of the, he's going to do well. Now, for the hot seat, our good old buddy's always in the live chat here, Mr. Jeff Anderson. Jeff's always in there kicking around. Hope he's doing okay in the hospital over at Emory. His Buckeyes, which he's not satisfied with Coach Day. Coach Day, coach there as offensive coordinator with Urban Meyer, winning a national championship. Buckshot Jones bringing in their second-team quarterback, and Ezekiel Elliott's, and the list goes on. Defensive players they've pumped out of there, quarterbacks. I don't know how they didn't beat Georgia year before. I don't. Georgia got some of that Bama luck. Just you got to be lucky sometimes. And Ohio State was just not lucky. Ohio State number 4 recruiting, 1 5-star, 12 4-stars, 8 3-star class. Ohio State has lost to Michigan and has missed out on the Big Ten title game the last 3 seasons. Now, they did a solid job on winning the recruiting battles outside of Ohio in this cycle. In fact, 2 of the Buckeyes and 2 prospects in this class are the 5-star receivers Smith and the edge rusher Eric Houston, which all hail from Florida and Georgia, respectively. Smith, the top-ranked receiver last year, can come into play immediately for the Buckeyes. And that we also know about Junkins coming in, and we know about Caleb Downs coming in and playing on defense. Now, quoted saying that there were some pieces that we felt like that we needed to get coming out of this, Day said back in September. Now, did we get everything and the whole wish list? No, but we got a lot of things that we did need. And the prospect Julian Sayin, bringing in Coach O'Brien, he had coached at Bama. That's why Sayan wanted to go up to Ohio State and play because when O'Brien was at Bama, that's why Sayan wanted to go play there. Well, he left, so Sayan backed out. Coach Day says, well, what is it going to take to get you? Bring my coach. Okay. Yeah, how much? Okay. Yeah, we'll get that for you. So Coach O'Brien from Alabama will now be there coaching. Now, this is not a surprise, but kind of surprise. We got a lot of guys, man, that's just been there for 2 or 3 years, and they're recruiting well. A former Alabama grad assistant there worked under the old goat from defense, Kirby Smart. Dan Lanning at Oregon is 3. They wind up with only 2 5-stars. They got 16 4-stars and 3 3-stars. 16 4-star players. 16 4-star players. Ohio State had 12, and Miami had 14. So it's on the track of having a lot of these 4-star players. Well, and they're right there on the cusp too, man. I mean, and if they wouldn't have run into Penix and them playing, had to play Washington, lost to them twice. Man, how do you lose a team twice? He'll figure it out. So Oregon's class best in school history, thanks to the head coach Dan Lanning efforts in this cycle to be the biggest names in the class, including 5-star edge rusher Elijah Rushing, and well, he's got to be good. His last name's Rushing, and 5-star receiver Gatlin Bear, who committed also to the Ducks over the weekend. During the early signing period, Lanning said he was also able to flip a pair of 4-star receivers, Jeremiah McClellan and the Pelham kid from Ohio State and USC. This 2024 class also includes 4-star defensive end rusher Breland and a Jericho Johnson and a 4-star cornerback. Yeah, I ain't trying to even tackle that one. Obidegwu. Oh, Big Woo. Yeah, I had a lot of them in my class. Oh, Big Woo. Yeah, old Charlie, oh, Big Woo. Lived up there, up on the other side of Schlackland. What? I mean, where are these people from? Seeing history and recruiting class following back-to-back double-digit win seasons isn't too shabby for Lanning, who is entering, like I said, his 3rd year as the Ducks to reach into the heading into next season. If you don't think the Ducks is going to be, I'm going to take these off. We're doing video tomorrow. I'm fixing to be done here. Sign up here and do the last top 2. Thank y'all for coming by and hanging out, man. National Signing Day. This is a big day, and you can see some of where your favorite schools, who's getting those players and who's getting some of these 5-star guys. Crimson Tide fans, it looks like they're going to hang in, and they're going to finish at 2. Let me just say, I'll brag on Coach DeBoer a little bit. To come in and deal with what he's had to attempt to do, to try to follow, which nobody's going to be able to do this, to follow the best to ever do it, and bringing his staff, Coach Groove, and bringing Womack down from South Alabama, and Coach the Morgan, he's kind of their player guy that kind of gets in there and works with them, and a Nestmeyer kid, young guy, comes in and works with the staff too. What a job they've done. He's got the number 2 recruiting class. Dude, we had a mass exit. You had like 18 players that were already leaving before Saban ever said he was retiring because they wanted their money. They didn't want to get taxed on this money because they all flipped out. And then he had 10 other kids that didn't want to stay and play, and we lost 4 starters. You lose 4 starting positions. Nye Black tied in, and then Roy Dale, and then Amos and Caleb. And you finish with the number 2 class. Hats off, Coach DeBoer and staff, for holding together and keeping all the Alabama fans from running off a cliff somewhere in the long Trotter Park in Redneckville, South Alabama. I mean, it was bad. I mean, there was people, literally, calling 911 saying, what am I supposed to do? My chest is hurting. Well, sir, or you may be having a heart attack. What's going on? Well, Nick Saban's just retired. I'm having chest pains. Okay. Dickie Nedmeyer, I mean, he just camped at Coach Saban's statue for days. Just going out there and eating oatmeal pies and drinking coffee. Just totally devastated. And this to come in and have a number 2, even if you had a top 10 class, hats off to them. 5 5-stars, 14 4-stars, and 9 3-star players filling in the places they need to fill. Nick Saban retiring from Alabama last month sent shockwaves throughout college football. Coach DeBoer and staff to come in has done a good job. Alabama did lose 5-star signee Julian Sayin, and we talked about why he left. But bringing in Brown and Macumba and Mincy and Williams and the Hill kid, I talked about him when we first come on. His name's Daniel Hill, and I'll click on him right here from Meridian, Mississippi. I knew some Mississippi. Go watch some film on him. Daniel, Daniel Hill. Daniel Hill, 5'11", going to come in and has a good weight and fast, plays tall in his pads. Going to be a great running back for them. And the offensive lineman, Cassie Poe, hanging on to the bulk of Alabama's 2024 recruiting class is a great first step for DeBoer's new era in Tuscaloosa. I agree. Wow. I mean, man, you're talking about just that's tough. You gonna try to come in there and keep this class together? I don't know. I don't know how you did it. And the tampering stuff, that's crap. I've seen the text from parents and the parent and the coach. It's just the kids being funny. So there's no tampering. 4-star, 4 5-star players. Let's see here. Bama wound up with 5 5-stars and number 1 class breakdown, 8 3-stars, 16 4-stars, and 5 4-star players. Well known that Georgia may have missed out on the college football playoff last season, but the Bulldogs aren't slowing down anytime soon. 2024 class ranked with the first national per the 24/7 composite. It is a headline by 5-star prospects such as cornerbacks Elijah Robinson III, linebackers Williamson, Chris Colga. We talked about him. KJ Bolden. We talked a lot about him. Man, he can play. I've seen him play. All 3 of these guys are top 3 players in their position. Head coach Kirby Smart cleaned up inside the state of Georgia, signing 9 in-state prospects while signing 3 each from Florida and Texas. Georgia's rich in high school football players. And top, how'd that work out? It was the top 150 players, or top 300 players in college football. Alabama had 19, I think, and Georgia had like 36. It's just not even close. And it's no knock against players here in my lovely state of Alabama. We all know why birds fly upside down over Georgia. We know why. I loved my state, Alabama. Lived here. I lived here all my life. Lived in Montgomery for a while before I come back up this way. But Georgia has lots of talent. And for Kirby to go in there and lock down a lot of his state, and they don't recruit Buford High School well. I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't explain that. But then also to run down there and him and Cristobal just kind of running the state. So Coach Norvell at Florida State and Billy the Kid, they pulled that quarterback where they got from. But Coach Norvell, they kind of cherry picked some kids from like Roy Daly, got him from Alabama, but they're going to be on scholarship restriction for 2 years at Florida State. So for Kirby to go down into Florida, and obviously Coach Cristobal just told you about how good he did in the state of Florida and in Texas. And I just told you about how crazy it is at Texas. These kids, these districts, like with 10,000 kids in at this big school. Out there they play. Coach Smart agrees to say here, quote unquote, I love getting kids from the state of Georgia. If I could sign every kid from the state of Georgia, I would love to do that. That would be great. That's not realistic, though. It's just not. Some years our state provides us speed and athleticism. Some years it supplies us in size. That is very true. And I could go on too. We don't want to leave out Louisiana. I mean, the state's full of a lot of large men. Always can get large, great commitments out of Louisiana. And to finish up here, but there was a big loss for Georgia as a cycle from the quarterback from Dylan Raiola. The Bulldogs did sign 4-star quarterback Ryan Pugsley in this cycle, but losing Raiola while Carson Beck has just one more season left. Athens doesn't put the quarterback position in as great a position as they would hope to had for the season ending of 2024. So that's kind of it. Auburn breaks in the top 10. I thought they would. Miami, good class. Don't let old Coach Cristobal, don't let him get the crystal ball and figure it out, because if he's taking some of the most top 25 talents out of Florida, I'm telling you, you might think I'm crazy, but subscribe here to the channel. Come on every Sunday night and hang out with us, and I'll tell you again, they'll have a good team. And it's just going to be a matter of time before these old Bama coaches are battling it out. Think about it. Just think about it. Oregon, Texas, Miami, and Georgia. You know where they all come from. And there's others out there too. Because Ole Miss is, don't forget about them. Now, they didn't recruit. They were like, where were they at, 15, 14? But he plugged a lot of kids from the portal. And Lane's not stupid. He's going to get the kids that he needs, that he knows is going to make his class better. Wow, what a great year we're going to have. It's going to be a good one. I'm out of water, and we're out of time. And it's about time to go eat a bean or something. So I got a very interesting video of Wilt Chamberlain. Y'all comment over here and tell me if you'd like to see it. It's kind of a real story about a 100-point game that he had. Gives a lot of in-depth stuff, little clips from all kind of interviews, and puts together a good storyline. It's about 35 minutes long. It's not real long. And tells about, because there's no cameras at the game when he scored 100 points. There was only like one local newspaper guy, and they had on radio. But it was very, some of it was a little funny. He had to catch a ride home from some of the Knicks players that he just scored 100 points on. And he only dunked the ball like 4 times in that game. And he shot about 20 free throws, granny style free throws. I just thought it was interesting. I'd like to share it with you. So if y'all like to see that, let me know. Come back Sunday night and hang out. Almost 3 hours. Why not just make it 3 hours? Let's just make it a round number. Let's go back over here and see where our other top classes had finished here. Yeah. Ohio State. Yeah. LSU at 7. Let's not forget them, Notre Dame at 9, and they're recruiting at number 1 right now for next year. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They're number 1 for the 25 class, Notre Dame. So Coach Freeman, they have 23 commitments wound up being this year. Auburn is showing to be 10 on the 24/7 Sports. The other one was on the Rivals, and they're going to a different spot. Not usually a whole lot. Tennessee at 13. I'm just telling SEC teams. Florida at 14. A&M at 19 with 17 commits. They had 1 5-star and a lot of 4-stars. Missouri at 20, it shows, had 1 5-star and several 7-stars. And Ole Miss, we talked about them. They didn't wind up with any 5-stars, but 11 4-stars and 10 3-stars. Lane is bringing back enough to win some football games. And we got to talk about South Carolina, number 22 ranked in recruiting. South Carolina averaging their score of 90.75, 16 commitments, 2 5-stars, 9 4-stars. Not forget about them. Kentucky, 25th in recruiting, and North Carolina stepping right outside the top for 26. Mississippi State at 28. Now, they're going to go through a spell here. Mississippi State is going to go through a spot where that's going to be hard for them. Arkansas, and these guys are going to have to play Texas and Oklahoma. They're going to have to play Texas and Oklahoma. That's kind of all. The Vanderbilt comes in at 41. They had 2 4-stars. What are they going to really get? They had a Deontay Carter, safety kid. It's going to be pretty good from Texas, and they had a kid from Georgia, a 3-star kid to be a defensive lineman. Kid from Jacksonville, Florida, edge rusher, a tight end, Fortenberry. See if they had any kids from around here anywhere. Go to Vanderbilt, Louisiana, Tennessee, Knoxville, Snellville, Georgia. Jalen Lackey. He is a cornerback. Good luck to him from Snellville, Georgia. There's some good football players around Snellville. Whit Muschamp is at Vanderbilt, 6'1". He is a signee, a quarterback. What are you talking about? He's at Florida. Chattanooga, Tennessee, played at Baylor School. Huh. Four-star quarterback plays looked at by Cincinnati, and high school led Baylor School an 11-2 record against Tennessee Division II AAA title. It's first season with the program, 3,100 yards, 29 touchdown directed offense, an average of 40 points per game, and never scored fewer than 31. So he signed to Vanderbilt last year. Whit Muschamp. I guess that would be Will's boy. That's probably why he stepped down and stepped aside from some of that. So we have covered from wall to wall, and people, if you go back and watch this, I do appreciate you coming by. A lot of people hung out with me for a long time today. And we'll get back on here Sunday, and he plays at Florida State. He will be going through some comments here. Everybody, thank you. Lance on YouTube, thank you for coming by. We talked about Texas and broke all them down. Yeah, Cedar Bluff's going to be a 2A. That's going to be very strange. Battery's running low on my phone. I'm just going to try to do it exactly on 3 hours. We'll knock this thing off. Guys, thank y'all for coming by and hanging out. The Locker Room Podcast, special edition, Recruiting Day 2024. We knocked out a 3-hour special, and we went back through at the end there to give you kind of see where your class is ranked. And the top 10 is very littered with SEC schools. Very, very littered with SEC schools. So, we got knocked 3 hours out in here, and we just went back through that. And when we stop the video, you can back up here about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and I go back through the top 10 SEC schools that are kind of making the way. Alabama wound up finishing second. Hats off to Coach DeBoer for being able to hold that together. That's just insane. And, of course, Georgia's going to be your number one recruiting class. Oregon wound up at 3, and Oregon was at 4. Miami come in at around 5. Auburn made the top 10. They're going to be 9 or 10. They had 2 5-stars come in for receiver position and their quarterback. So Auburn's going to try to put it together and get them an offense. And Coach Freeze, I know his track record's not the best, but I'm not expecting him to go, hey, by gosh, you better go win the SEC this year. I think if Auburn can go on and win, they had won 6 to get to bowl game. They just totally went brain dead in their bowl game, and the coach failed his team. I'll just put the blame where it should go. He failed his team. He said, I was busy recruiting. I didn't really watch this game. Every game's important because it's the next game. Man, I can't believe they lost that. He's going to have to do better than that. And he's got him a defensive coach now, so it was just left in a bad spot. So we'll see how they can do and finish out. Ole Miss, man, watch out for old Kiffin. So recruiting special. It's going to call it a day. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day and go out and say something nice to somebody. Tell them God's good and the sun's shining today. You can go out there and get some fresh air and come back see us Sunday night, 4:00 Super Bowl. Talk about some of that, some local stuff going on. Congratulations to all our area teams who got out there and knocked it down the other night. We went and watched Cherokee County girls play. Congrats to them beating Jacksonville, and San Rock girls beat 5. And Spring Garden girls beat Cedar Bluff, and Spring Garden boys taking the win over Gainesville boys. And so congrats to everybody, and they'll get into region play, and hope everybody can do good and be healthy. That's the thing. Stay and don't get turned ankles. And you get this later in the year, it's hard not to get somebody hurt. So, all right. Georgia, Bama, 1-2, top of the recruiting class.